Chapter 2183. Kacha. Ningyu didn't give the black pill any chance. With a flick of his wrist, he swallowed the black pill along with its head and body. As the pill slid down his throat and into his stomach, Ningyu's body instantly emitted a berserk energy. Refined. Ningyu didn't dare to delay. He quickly sat down cross-legged and began to use his spell to refine the pill. Even though Ningyu had the war god's physique and his body was abnormally tough, he was still able to withstand it. However, he still did not dare to relax. Chi-Chi. Under Ningyu's efforts, the black pill was constantly being refined. 4 essence immortal nomological laws also entered Ningyu's body, protecting Ningyu. Drip. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. In this hour, Ningyu had already refined 1/10 of the pills. Bang! A muffled sound came from Ningyu's body. Following that, a terrifying aura was emitted from Ningyu's body. Late-stage ancestral immortal. After just refining 1/10 of the pill, Ningyu had already advanced from the ancestor immortal middle stage to the ancestor immortal late stage. One could imagine that once he refined all the elixirs, there was a high chance that he would advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal stage, or even a half step into the virtual immortal stage. However, Ningyu had no intentions of trying to reach the pinnacle of the ancestor immortal stage. He took a deep breath and began to use the pills to awaken the body of the war god bloodline. Previously, he had only awakened a portion of the body of the divine god of battle bloodline, and the power of the bloodline was around 50 to 60%. If he could completely awaken the power of his bloodline, then his overall strength could even increase by several times. Therefore, to Ningyu, the benefits of breaking through to the peak of ancestral immortal stage were far inferior to the benefits of awakening his bloodline power. Ka. The bloodline power of the divine god of war was extremely difficult to awaken. Ningyu used all the remaining medicinal energy in the pill to awaken his bloodline power. Drip. Another hour passed. 60% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. 3 hours later, 70% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. 5 hours passed. 80% of the blood in Ningyu's body was the blood of the god of war. As the saying went, the further one went, the harder it was to awaken one's bloodline. Even with the help of elixirs, Ningyu was still unable to awaken 90% of the war god's body bloodline. Awaken. Ningyu swallowed all the pills, herbs, and crystals he had on him. After awakening 80% of the battle god body's bloodline, Ningyu felt that he could go against a late-stage essence immortal. But that was not enough. What Ningyu wanted was to awaken the 90% bloodline of the god of war body so that he could easily kill a late-stage essence immortal martial artist. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. When the 4th day arrived, a terrifying aura surged from Ningyu's body. Fortunately, Ningyu had sealed the room in advance. Otherwise, the aura that rushed out from his body would have attracted the attention of the old man on the top floor of the Shuei Tower. Even so, the old man and young martial artist on the top floor of the Shuei Tower had arrived at Ningyu's room a long time ago. They waited for 3 days, but there was no sign of Ningyu coming out. Therefore, they decided to check on the situation personally and convince Ningyu to join the Shuei Alliance. The young martial artist frowned and asked curiously, "He hasn't come out for 3 days. Did he meet with some problems?" "Don't worry, there's nothing wrong." The old man shook his head. "The people of God exterminating sect are cursing so loudly outside, but Ningyu still hasn't appeared. This means that he's cultivating to reach late-stage ancestor immortal." Late-stage ancestor immortal? The young martial artist frowned. He shouldn't be able to reach late-stage ancestor immortal within 3 days. Nothing is impossible. Didn't you advance to late-stage ancestor immortal? The old man said, "I'm different. I was at the peak of mid-stage ancestor immortal to begin with. It's only natural for me to advance to late-stage ancestor immortal," the young martial artist argued. Creak. Right then, the tightly shut door opened slowly. A skinny young man walked out from inside. Looking at the two martial artists before him, Ningyu asked, "Who are you guys looking for?" "You." The old man smiled. "Aren't you going to invite us and take a seat? Please enter." Ningyu turned around and entered the room. Gulp. The young martial artist stood rooted to the spot and did not enter the room with the old man. In truth, the young martial artist was shocked when he sensed the aura that Ningyu gave off. Late-stage ancestor immortal. With his sharp senses, he could naturally tell that Ningyu was at late-stage ancestor immortal cultivation. The reason why he could advance to late-stage ancestor immortal in 3 days was because he was at the peak of mid-stage ancestor immortal to begin with. Moreover, he had expended a large amount of resources of the Shui-Yu Alliance. But how was Ningyu able to advance to late-stage ancestor immortal in 3 days? Confusion, doubt, and confusion appeared in the young martial artist's heart. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and come in." Suddenly, the old man's voice rang out in the young martial artist's ears. Upon hearing that, the young martial artist entered the room hurriedly. "Let me introduce myself. I am the elder of the Watermoon Alliance, Zheng Jiqiang." The old man introduced himself before pointing at the young martial artist. "He is the core disciple of the Watermoon Alliance, Songqing." Ningyu did not say anything and waited quietly. He knew that Zheng Jiqiang and Songqing were definitely not here for a simple introduction. They definitely had a reason for coming here. As expected, after the introduction, Zheng Jiqiang continued, "Our goal is simple. We want you to join the Watermoon Alliance and become a core disciple. Don't be in a hurry to reject us." Seeing that Ningyu wanted to speak, Zheng Jiqiang continued, "There are many major alliances in the Kuan-Su Alliance, such as the Watermoon Alliance, God's Alliance, and God's Slaying Alliance. There are many benefits to joining these alliances. Cultivation resources, personal protection for friends, etc. All in all, there are many benefits to joining the Watermoon Alliance." Ningyu frowned slightly. There was no such thing as free lunch in the world. He said calmly, "What do you need me to pay? You don't have to pay too much. Just help the Watermoon Alliance fight with the geniuses of the other two alliances," Zheng Jiqiang said. Ningyu glanced at Songqing and said, "He is very powerful. With him, I don't think the Watermoon Alliance needs me." Although Songqing is powerful, he is only one person. Zheng Jiqiang said, "For the fight between the 3 alliances, each alliance needs to send 5 peerless geniuses. Including Songqing, the Watermoon Alliance only has 4 in total." It was as if he was afraid that Ningyu would reject him. Zheng Jiqiang pointed at the powerhouses of the gods-destroying sect who were guarding outside the Watermoon restaurant and said, "As long as you agree, I will get rid of them for you." "No need. I will take care of my own business." Ningyu waved his hand. With his current strength, it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with the small fries of the gods-destroying sect. Those who were unaccountably solicitous were hiding evil intentions. Before he was sure of Zheng Jiqiang's real purpose, Ningyu would not agree to anything foolishly. "How about this? Why don't you go to the Watermoon Alliance with us first, and then make a decision?" Zheng Jiqiang knew that it was hard for Ningyu to believe him. Chapter 2184. Let's talk about it after I settle the trouble outside. Ningyu did not agree to Zheng Jiqiang's request, nor did he reject it directly. He did not know much about the Watermoon Alliance. If he agreed or rejected it rashly, there might be unnecessary trouble. Therefore, Ningyu decided to deal with the few people from God exterminating sect first before asking Sun Yongsheng what kind of organization the Watermoon Alliance was. "All right then." Zheng Jiqiang nodded and said, "Songqing and I will be at the top floor of the Watermoon restaurant. You can look for us after you settle the problem with God exterminating sect." Although Ningyu is only a late-stage ancestor immortal, and the God exterminating evil lord was a mid-stage essence immortal, Zheng Jiqiang believed that Ningyu would be able to get rid of the God exterminating evil lord easily. That was because even he felt some pressure when facing Ningyu. Swish! Ningyu did not waste any time. He flashed and went straight to the door of the Watermoon restaurant. Sun Yongsheng, Lin Tu, Zhou Wen, and the rest came out with Ningyu. In the past few days, the people from God exterminating sect have been cursing outside the restaurant with filthy words. If not for Ningyu's order not to go out, Sun Yongsheng and the rest would have killed their way out. Now that Ningyu had finally come out of seclusion, Sun Yongsheng and the rest naturally moved out to fight to the death with the people from God exterminating sect. Cowards, you're finally out? Upon seeing Ningyu and the rest, a half-step essence immortal from God exterminating sect shouted, "How dare you provoke God exterminating sect? This day, next year, will be yours." Puffed. However, before the half-step essence immortal could finish his sentence, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying several feet away. Rubbing his fist, Ningyu said indifferently, "How dare a mere half-step essence, immortal, threaten me like this? I think you must be tired of living. You must have a death wish." Seeing that his companion was killed, another early-stage essence immortal was enraged and immediately rushed out. Bang! Ningyu did not care about the early-stage essence immortal's attack at all as he punched out lightly. A crisp sound was heard. Without a doubt, the early-stage essence immortal warrior was sent flying by the punch and died on the spot. Voila! The sudden change caused the surrounding onlookers to suck in a breath of cold air, killing an early-stage primordial immortal with a single punch. Such strength was truly terrifying. Seeing that his sect's martial artists were killed, God-exterminating evil monarch only raised his eyebrows and didn't show much anger. It was as if the two dead martial artists were not from the God-exterminating sect. "You're pretty strong. Are you interested in joining the God-exterminating sect?" God-exterminating evil monarch stared at Ningyu with the corner of his mouth slightly raised as he said with interest, "I've investigated. The Tai Divine sect has been destroyed. If you continue to stay in the Tai Divine sect, you won't be able to develop well. But our God-exterminating sect is different. Not long ago, our God-exterminating sect joined the God-exterminating alliance. Our position in the God-exterminating alliance is not low." At this point, the God-exterminating evil monarch paused for a moment before continuing. "As long as you join the God-exterminating sect, I can recommend you to become a core disciple of the God-exterminating alliance." God-destroying evil monarch was very confident. In the Kuan Su alliance, the God-killing alliance was one of the top 3 alliances. Almost everyone was proud to be a member of the God-killing alliance. In the eyes of the God-destroying evil monarch, as long as Ningyu was an idiot, he would definitely join the God-destroying sect. However, the ideal was plentiful, but the reality was harsh. Ningyu shrugged and said faintly, "I'm not interested in the God-exterminating sect or the God-slaying alliance." "What?" The God-destroying evil monarch widened his eyes in disbelief. In the entire Stellar Sky City, was there anyone who wasn't interested in killing the Divine Union? You should know, there were a lot of resources in the Killing God Union. Every core disciple of the Killing God Union could obtain a huge amount of cultivation resources. Ka. Clenching his fists, evil monarch God, destroying evil monarch's face instantly darkened. "Since you don't want to join the God-exterminating sect, I can only apologize to you." "Shio!" His voice fell. The God-destroying evil monarch stomped on the ground and rushed out. Chi. Due to the extreme speed, the friction between the evil monarch and the God-destroying evil monarch produced a sizzling sound. At the same time, as the evil monarch God, destroying evil monarch rushed out, he displayed his mid-stage essence immortal aura and pressed down on Ningyu. The evil monarch God, destroying evil monarch, was enraged. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Ningyu. Sect Master. In front of the Shuei restaurant, Zhao Rui and Zhou Wen quickly called out when they saw the evil monarch God destroying evil monarch rushing out. Among them, only Sun Yongsheng was at the early stage essence immortal level and was qualified to help Ningyu. As for the rest, the highest cultivation level was only at the half-step essence immortal level. They would only be cannon fodder if they rushed forward. Bang! On the other side, the walking stick in immortal golden snake's hand suddenly fell, smashing the bluestone paved ground into pieces. Seeing this, Zhao Rui and the rest's hearts sank to the bottom. Immortal Golden Snake's attitude was clear. Whoever dared to help Ning Yu would be his enemy. How dare he offend the god-exterminating sect? I respect him as a man. So what if he's a man? The sect master of the god-exterminating sect is someone who kills without blinking an eye. Sigh. Ning Yu is really muddle-headed. With his talent and strength, he will definitely get a lot of cultivation resources if he joins the god-exterminating sect. He might even have a chance to become the sect master of the god-exterminating sect in the future. Become the sect master of the god-exterminating sect? I think you've lost your mind. That's right. The evil monarch god, destroying evil monarch, wants Ning Yu to join the god-exterminating sect because he has seen his talent and strength. He wants to capture him and study him. The surrounding martial artists were in a heated discussion. Everyone's opinion was different. Some felt sorry for Ning Yu, while some felt that Ning Yu did the right thing. In short, no one was optimistic about Ning Yu. They even thought that Ning Yu would definitely lose. Elder, should we? On the top floor of the Shui Yu restaurant. Song Qing frowned slightly and hesitated. The evil monarch god destroying evil monarch was not too weak. Song Qing had already tacitly accepted Ning Yu to join the Water Moon Alliance. He definitely did not want Ning Yu to be hurt. It's fine. Zheng Jiqiang waved his hand and said, Ning Yu's strength is on par with yours. He might even be slightly stronger than you. It's not a problem for him to deal with the sect master of the god-exterminating sect. Slightly stronger than me? Song Qing was in disbelief. If it's you, you can defeat the evil monarch god, destroying evil monarch in a few moves. Zheng Jiqiang asked. Song Qing pondered and said proudly, before advancing to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, I could defeat the evil monarch god, destroying evil monarch in 100 moves. But now I only need 10. 10 moves? To tell you the truth, Ning Yu only needs one move to defeat the evil monarch god, destroying evil monarch. Zheng Jiqiang smiled and said, One move? That's impossible. Song Qing exclaimed. Bang! Just as Song Qing exclaimed, the outcome of the battle in front of the Shui Yu restaurant was decided. Swish! Song Qing hurriedly stood up and stared at the battlefield in front of the Shui Yu restaurant in shock. In the middle of the battlefield. Chapter 2185. Whoosh! The sudden change caused the surrounding martial artists to be dumbfounded. Some even thought that they were seeing things and rubbed their eyes hard. But soon, they realized that they weren't seeing things. Instead, something unbelievable had happened. One punch. Just like the early-stage primordial immortal martial artist, Ning Yu only used one punch to defeat God, exterminating evil lord. What kind of freak was he? A late-stage ancestor immortal defeated a mid-stage primordial immortal with one punch. Could it be Ning Yu is a core disciple of the three major alliances? Everyone knew. In the Stellar Sky City, only the core disciples of the three major alliances would be able to do this. Puffed, spurting out fresh blood, God-exterminating evil lord said to Ning Yu, I admit that you are powerful, but you should never have provoked me. Oh. Do you still have any trump cards? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and sent a voice transmission to God, exterminating evil lord. Don't think that I don't know who you are, heavenly demon. Ning Yu did not finish his sentence, because he knew that he only needed to give a hint and God, exterminating evil lord, would understand. I have no idea what you're talking about. God, exterminating evil lord's eyes flickered. The mountains will not change, and the rivers will flow. We will meet again. As he spoke, God, exterminating evil lord, dragged his heavy footsteps and walked away. Swish! How could Ning Yu give God, exterminating evil lord, a chance to escape? He moved quickly and blocked God, exterminating evil lord's path of retreat. Don't be in a hurry to leave. Tell me where Di Wentian is. Ning Yu grabbed God, exterminating evil lord's neck and lifted him up, whispering, You only have one chance to live. Cherish it. Golden Snake, immortal lord, save me. God, exterminating evil lord, did not compromise even after being reminded by Ning Yu, and chose to ask Golden Snake, immortal lord, for help. Damn it, Golden Snake, Immortal Lord, did not want to save God, exterminating Evil Lord at first. This was because she could tell from Ning Yu's move that Ning Yu was very strong. At the very least, he was on par with her. In other words, she did not have the confidence to win against Ning Yu. Although she was a member of the Divine Killing Union, she felt that it was not worth risking her life for the god destroying Evil Lord. However, the evil monarch of God, destroying evil monarch's right foot, lightly tapped the ground 3 times, making her change her mind. Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew that there was an elixir in God destroying Evil King's mansion. It was that pill that made her decide to help the god destroying evil monarch. Let him go. Immortal Golden Snake took a step forward and pointed his crutch at Ning Yu. He said coldly, "I'm from the God-slaying alliance. Let him go, and everything will be fine. Otherwise, you'll become an enemy of the God-slaying alliance." Elder. On the top floor of Shuei restaurant, seeing that Golden Snake Immortal was using the God-slaying alliance to suppress Ning Yu, Song Qing hurriedly said, "Shouldn't we show ourselves?" "It's not convenient for me to show myself. You go and take a look." Zheng Jiqiang thought for a moment and said, "Remember, Ning Yu is from the Water Moon Alliance. You must remember this." Understood. Song Qing cupped his fists toward the void and appeared in front of Immortal Lord Golden Snake. Song Qing. Obviously, Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew Song Qing. After all, Song Qing was a core disciple of the Water Moon Alliance and ranked among the top geniuses in the alliance. "Ning Yu is from the Water Moon Alliance. I advise you to leave as soon as possible," Song Qing said coldly. Boom! Song Qing's words caused another uproar in the surroundings. Everyone was discussing. No wonder Ning Yu rejected the god, destroying Evil Lord. It turns out that he has already joined the Water Moon Alliance. Yeah, the Water Moon Alliance and the God-Slaying Alliance are both top alliances. There's going to be a good show this time. Even Song Qing of the Water Moon Alliance has come. I wonder if the core disciples of the God-Slaying Alliance will show up. It's hard to say. The Brilliant Void Conference is about to begin. I really want to see the core disciples of the 2 alliances fight before the conference. The crowd's discussion made Immortal Golden Snake's face darken. This time, he came with the god destroying Evil Lord for his personal gain. He wanted the elixir pills of the god destroying Evil Lord. Now that Song Qing of the Water Moon Alliance had appeared, he was in a dilemma. Gritting his teeth, Immortal Lord Golden Snake said, "I can leave, but I want to take the god-destroying Evil Lord with me." Swoosh! Song Qing looked at Ning Yu, apparently seeking Ning Yu's opinion. If Ning Yu was willing to let the god-destroying Evil Lord go, he would not stop him. But if Ning Yu wanted to keep the god-destroying Evil Lord, he would stand firmly on Ning Yu's side. "You can leave, but the god-destroying Evil Lord has to stay," Ning Yu said without hesitation. Let the god-destroying Evil Lord go? What a joke. The god-destroying Evil Lord had surrendered to the heavenly demons. Letting him go was no different from letting a tiger return to the mountain. "Don't go too far," Immortal Lord Golden Snake said angrily. "I have given you enough face." Ning Yu waved his hand and interrupted Immortal Lord Golden Snake. "Your face is not worth much. I don't need it. You have 2 choices. Get lost, or I will beat you to the ground." Ha ha ha. True character, I like it. Song Qing patted Ning Yu's shoulder and laughed wildly. Don't, I don't like men." Ning Yu quickly moved away from Song Qing. His sexual orientation was normal. Song Qing rolled his eyes and said, "Get lost, my sexual orientation is normal too. What I mean is I admire you." "It's okay." Ning Yu showed a look of relief. To be liked by a powerful genius, Ning Yu would definitely break down, because it was difficult to get rid of such a genius. "You want to beat our Divine Alliance member to the ground?" Suddenly, an indifferent voice came from afar. Swoosh! Following that, a young martial artist in blue walked over and landed in front of Immortal Lord Golden Snake. Su Ming. Song Qing's expression turned grim when he saw the martial artist in blue. He knew this person. Su Ming, a core disciple of the Divine Alliance. Su Ming was ranked 5th among all the core disciples of the Divine Alliance. Su Ming might only be ranked 5th, but Song Qing knew better than anyone that Su Ming's true combat strength was enough to rank him in the top 3, or even first, of all the core disciples of the Divine Alliance. That was because Su Ming's constitution was unique. It was 1 in a million. Blood-devouring body. The so-called blood-devouring body was an extremely unique constitution. The terrifying thing about the blood-devouring body was its terrifying sensitivity to blood. Su Ming had a small bottle of the blood of a peak essence immortal. As long as Su Ming drank a mouthful of blood, his blood-devouring body would be triggered and his combat strength would multiply. That was why Song Qing was wary of Su Ming. You're at the late-stage, ancestral immortal stage at such a young age. Not bad at all. Su Ming did not look at Song Qing. Instead, he said to Ningyu, "I'll give you a chance now. Kneel down and kowtow a few times before joining the Divine Alliance." Chapter 2186. Swoosh. In an instant, all the martial artists in the area turned to look at Ningyu. Everyone knew that Su Ming was a core disciple of the Divine Slaying Alliance. He was active in Tianxing City and was a celebrity. However, everyone's understanding of Ningyu was limited to him killing an early-stage essence immortal with 1 punch and severely injuring the mid-stage essence immortal evil lord with 1 move. Hence, the clash between Ningyu and Su Ming was a highlight for everyone. Song Qing stood rooted to the ground, his eyes flickering. Song Qing had a trump card. Under the premise that he used it, it was unknown who would win between him and Su Ming. But now, Song Qing did not want to reveal his trump card. After all, he had to represent the Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void meeting and fight for the position of Alliance Master. If he revealed his trump card now, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, since Song Qing was already on Ningyu's side, if he did not show up now, he would inevitably become a laughingstock. He was in a dilemma. At that moment, Ningyu turned to look at Song Qing and asked in confusion, "What's wrong recently? Why are there so many flies buzzing in my ears?" Hearing this, Song Qing raised his brows and looked at Ningyu in surprise. Honestly, Song Qing did not think that Ningyu was Su Ming's match. In fact, Song Qing had already thought of a countermeasure. If it really did not work, he would ask Zheng Jiqiang to step in. However, Ningyu's behavior clearly showed that he wanted to go against Su Ming. There are indeed a lot of flies. The Red Fiend understood Ningyu's intentions. He moved forward slightly to the side of Ningyu and echoed, "The flies in this season are always annoying." After being with Ningyu for so long, the Red Fiend could figure out the meaning of Ningyu's words. Since Ningyu wanted to fight Su Ming, the Red Fiend naturally would not stand by idly. When necessary, he would fuse with the Red Fiend's sword and fight Su Ming with Ningyu. "What did you say?" We heard Ningyu and the Red Devil echo each other. Su Ming's eyes widened, and he released his aura. Chi-Chi. Late-stage ancestral immortal cultivation and mid-stage virtual immortal aura. The aura that erupted from Su Ming reached the terrifying mid-stage essence immortal realm. As expected of a core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, Su Ming's true battle prowess should be at the peak of a mid-stage essence immortal. Right? Middle stage essence immortal? I think you've lost your mind. A few days ago, Su Ming entered the extraterritorial battlefield and personally killed a peak mid-stage, virtual, immortal heavenly demon. Hiss! As soon as the last cultivator finished speaking, everyone around him sucked in a breath of cold air, killing a peak mid-stage, virtual, immortal sky fiend. His strength was at least equivalent to a late-stage, virtual, immortal. You should know, the heavenly demons were very powerful. In a situation where they were at the same cultivation level, a human martial artist might not be a match for a heavenly demon. The fact that Su Ming could kill a mid-stage essence immortal heavenly demon meant that his battle prowess had long since reached the late-stage essence immortal realm. Sigh, it's fine that there are so many flies, but they don't even understand human language. Ningyu shrugged and sighed softly. I'll say it again. There are too many flies that keep buzzing in my ears. It's annoying. You're courting death. Su Ming was furious. As a core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, he had always been high and mighty in Tianxing City. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Now, a late-stage ancestral immortal martial artist with a cultivation level similar to his was openly provoking him and calling him a fly. How could he tolerate that? With a furious roar, Su Ming rose from the ground and charged at Ningyu. "Watch out!" Song Qing shouted when he saw Su Ming charging at Ningyu. He even took the initiative to exchange blows with Su Ming. Bang! Their fists collided. Then, Song Qing and Su Ming retreated dozens of feet at the same time. This moved because both sides used their trump cards, so both sides were evenly matched. Song Qing, are you really going to protect him? Su Ming's expression was cold as he stared at Song Qing. You must know that the Killing God Alliance will definitely win first place in this brilliant void meeting. Whether the Water Moon Alliance can continue to exist is unknown, so I advise you not to do anything stupid. Whether the Water Moon Alliance can continue to exist. Song Qing frowned. Oomph. There's no harm in telling you. Su Ming snorted. In the brilliant Void Conference, not only will we elect a new alliance leader, but we'll also cancel all the alliances. When the time comes, there will only be one alliance in the entire brilliant Void Alliance, the God-Killing Alliance. I already said that Ningyu is from the Water Moon Alliance. If you touch him, you'll be making an enemy out of the Water Moon Alliance. Song Qing made his stance clear again. At the same time, he glanced at the top floor of the Water Moon restaurant out of the corner of his eye. That was because the Water Moon Alliance's elder, Zheng Jiqiang, was there. Although Zheng Jiqiang was only a late-stage essence immortal, he had the Water Moon Alliance's ultimate treasure. Even if Su Ming used his trump card, he would not be able to fight him. Fine, I'll let you win this time. How could Su Ming not know that Zheng Jiqiang was on the top floor of the Water Moon restaurant? He glared fiercely at Ningyu before moving his feet and walking away. Immortal Lord Golden Snake, take God-destroying evil Lord away. Su Ming did not forget the purpose of his visit. To take Immortal Lord Golden Snake and God-destroying evil Lord away. Su Ming was not a fool. He had come to help God-destroying evil Lord because he had learned from some source that God-destroying evil Lord had an elixir. He wanted that elixir so that he could become an essence immortal. Otherwise, why would he appear for the sect master of the God-destroying sect? Did I ask you to take him away? At that moment, Ningyu's indifferent voice was heard. Leave God-destroying evil Lord and immortal Lord Golden Snake, and you can leave. What? Su Ming was furious. He could not believe what he had heard. He had spared Ningyu for Song Qing's sake. Who would have thought that Ningyu would not know what was good for him and provoke him again? This could not be tolerated. Su Ming stopped and said fiercely, "You could have taken the road to heaven, but you chose to barge into hell. Song Qing, if you dare interfere again, I'll kill you too." As the word kill rang out, Su Ming turned into a blur and sped away. It was obvious that Su Ming was furious. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to kill Ningyu. It was useless no matter what anyone said. Damn it, Song Qing cursed. Song Qing had the urge to curse at Ningyu for taking matters into his own hands. But he had already said that Ningyu was a member of the Water Moon Alliance. If Ningyu was in trouble, he could not help. Therefore, Song Qing could only bite the bullet and help. I alone am enough to deal with him. Ningyu waved at Song Qing, then tore the void with both hands and entered. Crack! In the blink of an eye, the void next to Su Ming cracked. A fist containing terrifying immortal chi emerged and smashed at him. Essence Immortal Law. Su Ming's pupils constricted when he sensed the 4 essence immortal laws on the fist. He quickly wanted to use the blood of a peak essence immortal. But unfortunately, it was too late for Su Ming to activate the blood-devouring physique now. Crack! 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 Several crisp sounds were heard. Su Ming was sent flying and slammed into the ground. Chapter 2187. The broken ribs in front of his chest made Su Ming let out a hysterical roar. Right now, Su Ming was filled with regret. He was extremely regretful. If he hadn't been arrogant and not used his full strength just now, it was hard to tell who would have won the fight between him and Ningyu. After all, Ningyu had used 4 Essence Immortal Laws, while he hadn't even used his Essence Immortal Laws, let alone the blood-devouring body. How is this possible? What did I see? Are my eyes blind? You're not blind. Ningyu defeated Su Ming, the core disciple of the Killing God Alliance, in one move. Gulp! I thought Ningyu was just pretending. I didn't expect him to be so awesome. Everyone exclaimed. The terrifying strength Ningyu displayed caused them to exclaim in admiration. Song Qing stood rooted to the ground, a little dumbfounded. He thought he had overestimated Ningyu, but who would have thought that he was still underestimating him? From the fight between Ningyu and Su Ming, he judged that Ningyu's combat strength should be around the peak of the mid-stage Essence Immortal Realm. Crack, crack, crack. Su Ming suddenly slapped his chest with his right hand, connecting the broken ribs in the blink of an eye. After such a disaster, Su Ming had to get back at him. With a flick of his wrist, a bottle of red blood appeared in his hand. Quick, stop him! Song Qing immediately shouted when he saw the bottle of red blood in Su Ming's hand. Song Qing knew very well that the red blood Su Ming took out was the blood of a peak essence Immortal Realm warrior. With his bottle of blood, Su Ming was very likely to activate the blood-devouring body. After the fight, just now, Song Qing had to admit that Ningyu was very strong. But no matter how strong he was, it would be very difficult for him to fight against Su Ming, who had activated the blood-devouring body. The blood of a peak essence Immortal Realm warrior? Ningyu stared at the jade bottle in Su Ming's hand and didn't make any move to stop him. He had just awakened 90% of the god of war bloodline not long ago. Just as he was worrying about having no one to practice with, Su Ming immediately came knocking on his door. How could Ningyu reject such a good offer? Therefore, not only did Ningyu not make a move, but he even waved his hand at Song Qing, signaling him to step back. Ningyu's actions caused Song Qing's mouth to open slightly. He didn't know what to say. He had seen arrogant people, but he had never seen someone as arrogant as Ningyu. Su Ming was a core disciple of the God-slaying union. Among all the core disciples of the God-slaying union, he was ranked at the top. After activating the blood-devouring body, Su Ming's strength became even more valiant. He could even fight and kill a martial artist in the late primordial immortal stage. Could it be that Ningyu still had other trump cards? Song Qing stared at Ningyu. He wanted to see what kind of trump card Ningyu had. However, it was a pity. Ningyu stood where he was and didn't do anything. He just quietly watched Su Ming. Boom! At that moment, a terrifying aura was emitted from Su Ming's body and shot into the sky. Late-stage primordial immortal stage. Although Su Ming's cultivation was still at the late-stage ancestral immortal stage, the aura he emitted had reached the astonishing late-stage primordial immortal stage. Ningyu is in danger. Yeah, Su Ming's combat strength has increased by at least a few times. Sigh, I thought Ningyu was a genius, but it seems like he's just an idiot. The crowd discussed fervently. However, no one was optimistic about Ningyu's chances this time. Kill him. We must kill him. God-exterminating evil lord of the God-exterminating sect glared at Ningyu and said fiercely. Ningyu knew that he was colluding with the heavenly demons. He definitely didn't want Ningyu to live. Moreover, Ningyu had embarrassed him in front of so many people. It was difficult for him to avenge himself, so he could only rely on Su Ming. Ha ha ha. Immortal Lord Golden Snake of the God-slaying union laughed maniacally. Immortal Lord Golden Snake knew how terrifying Su Ming was after activating the blood-devouring body. One move. She couldn't even block one of Su Ming's moves. Whoosh! On the top floor of the Shuei restaurant, Zhang Jiqiang was finally moved. He flashed and appeared in front of Song Qing. Song Qing said hurriedly when he saw Zhang Jiqiang, "Elder, why don't you make a move?" Song Qing was worried that Ningyu would be killed, so he asked Zhang Jiqiang for help. "Let's wait a little longer," Zhang Jiqiang said in a low voice. Although Zhang Jiqiang had the same thought as everyone else, deep down, he still had a glimmer of hope for Ningyu. And the most crucial point was he wanted to use Ningyu to test Su Ming's true combat strength. Of course, if Ningyu was really in a dead end, he would act immediately. It'll be too late if we wait any longer, Song Qing said anxiously. Humph, what's wrong with you being so flustered? Zheng Jiqiang's face turned cold. How can I let you cultivate in the Water Moon Cave if you're like this? How are you going to carry the burden in the brilliant void meat? But Song Qing wanted to say something, but he could only give up when he saw Zheng Jiqiang's cold expression. For the brilliant void meat, both the Water Moon Union and the God-Slaying Union had paid a bloody price. The 5 geniuses participating in the brilliant void meat would receive a large amount of resources in this month. There was even a 50% chance that they would become Essence Immortals. Song Qing stared at Ningyu and could only pray for Ningyu in his heart. Ningyu, do you dare to fight me with one punch? After a while, when Su Ming completely activated the blood-devouring physique, he said to Ningyu coldly, whoever loses will have to kneel and kowtow to the other party. I couldn't ask for more. Ningyu smiled faintly. The strength of the god of war's physique lay in its physical strength. 3 days ago, Ningyu might not have dared to fight Su Ming because his god of war's physique bloodline had only been awakened a little. But now that he had awakened 90% of the god of war's physique bloodline, he feared no one. Eat my punch, blood-devouring fist. Upon hearing Ningyu's agreement, Su Ming rose from the ground and clenched his right fist. He gathered all the energy in his body into his fist and punched at Ningyu's head. Crack, crack, crack. That punch was so powerful that it tore the space apart. If a mid-stage Essence Immortal was unlucky enough to be hit by that punch, he would probably die on the spot. All of you step back. Facing Su Ming, who was charging at him, Ningyu's expression finally turned serious. The blood of the god of war's physique flowed in his heart. Ningyu wrapped the 4 Essence Immortal nomological laws around his right hand and threw a punch. Bam! Crack! Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Ningyu's fist collided with Su Ming's. 3 consecutive sounds were heard. Then, a blood-red mist appeared and enveloped Ningyu and Su Ming. Bam! 3 minutes passed. A figure flew out of the red blood mist and heavily hit the ground. Puffed. Fresh blood spurted out, and the figure's face turned pale. Ningyu? It's Ningyu. He's defeated. Ha ha ha. Ningyu is lost. After confirming the figure's identity, the evil Lord of God exterminating evil Lord and immortal golden snake laughed maniacally. They were excited that Ningyu had finally lost. Chapter 2188. Everyone looked at Ningyu in confusion. Fulfill your promise? Weren't you defeated? Why are you asking Su Ming to fulfill his promise? Even if you want to fulfill your promise, you should be the one to do it. Why is it Su Ming? Ningyu couldn't have been beaten silly, right? That's possible. Look at his pale face and how he's spitting blood. There's something wrong with his head. What kind of logic is that? I think Ningyu's afraid of losing face, so he's saying this to please the crowd. The martial artists around them discussed. To them, Ningyu is the loser. This was a fact that no one could change. Even Song Qing, Sun Yongsheng, and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. According to the agreement, the loser had to kneel down and kowtow to the loser. Hee, looks like you need my help. Ignoring the discussions of the crowd, Ningyu smiled faintly and charged straight into the blood mist. Humph, I'll come out myself. As soon as Ningyu dashed out, a cold snort came from the blood mist. Then, whoosh, a martial artist in ragged clothes appeared before everyone's eyes. Su Ming, without a doubt. This martial artist in ragged clothes was Su Ming. At this moment, Su Ming was in a sorry state. Not only were his clothes in tatters, but his aura was also at its lowest. It would not be an exaggeration to say that even a human immortal could easily defeat Su Ming. I lost the bet. Ningyu shrugged and said, kneel down and kowtow a few times, then I'll let you go. It wasn't that Ningyu was being kind. Instead, he sensed that there were several terrifying auras hidden in the void. Those auras were probably from the God-Slaying Alliance. It was unrealistic to kill Su Ming right under their noses. I know. I lost the bet. Su Ming's eyes flickered. But I have a condition. Can I exchange it with something? Su Ming had a sense of shame. No matter what, he was still a core disciple of the God-slaying alliance and represented the God-slaying alliance. Even if he was willing to fulfill his promise and kneel before Ningyu, the elders of the Killing God Union would not agree to it. If he forced himself to kneel before Ningyu, what awaited him would be death. What do you want in exchange? Ningyu folded his arms in front of his chest and looked at Su Ming with interest. To be honest, Ningyu never expected Su Ming to have such an attitude. Su Ming's performance had exceeded his expectations. Su Ming flicked his wrist and took out 2 blood-red jade bottles. The blood of a peak essence immortal martial artist? Ningyu frowned. That's right. It's the blood of a peak primordial immortal. Su Ming nodded and said, but it's not ordinary blood. It's their blood essence. You should know better than me how precious these 2 bottles of blood are. Given your current cultivation, if you were to refine all of it, you might even be able to charge to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. He could tell. Su Ming was extremely indignant. He had obtained these 2 bottles of blood essence from a peak essence immortal martial artist after much difficulty. He was extremely indignant about giving them to Ningyu. However, he had no choice but to do so in order not to kneel before Ningyu. For bottles, Ningyu glanced at Su Ming, then extended 4 fingers and said, "Give me 4 bottles of blood essence, and we'll call it even. Don't go too far." Su Ming's expression turned cold. Ningyu seemed to have grown X-ray eyes. He only had 4 bottles of blood essence left. If he gave them all to Ningyu, his status in the Killing God Union would plummet. Then you'd better kneel before me. Ningyu spread his hands, indicating that he didn't care. The appearance of several powerful auras in the air made Ningyu understand. This was no longer a simple fight between him and Su Ming. It was a contest between the Killing God Union and the Water Moon Union. Since the Water Moon Union was involved, he had to rip Su Ming off. Crack, crack, crack. Su Ming gritted his teeth in anger. However, even though he was angry, Su Ming knew that he had no other choice but to compromise. All right, the mountains will not change, and the rivers will continue to flow. We will meet again. Su Ming gritted his teeth, took out 2 more bottles of blood essence, and tossed them to Ningyu. Slap, 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 slap. Ningyu reacted quickly and firmly grabbed the 4 bottles of blood essence in his hand. Let's go. Su Ming said to Golden Snake, Immortal Lord, when he saw Ningyu accept the blood essence. God Exterminating Evil Lord followed closely behind Su Ming, wanting to leave. Wait. Ningyu waved his hand. Golden Snake, Immortal Lord, can leave, but God Exterminating Evil Lord has to stay. You. Su Ming looked back at Ningyu and extended his right hand, shaking with anger. Save me. God Exterminating Evil Lord knew Su Ming was his only hope. Hence, he hastily said to Su Ming and even knelt down to hug his right leg. Just you wait and see. Su Ming's face darkened. After a moment's thought, he kicked God Exterminating Evil Lord away and hurried away. Abandoning God Exterminating Evil Lord was the best choice. Su Ming was afraid he'd become a laughingstock if he stayed. He needed to enter seclusion and get back at the brilliant void meat. Hong Mo, Ningyu didn't go capture God Exterminating Evil Lord himself. Instead, he signaled Hong Mo with his eyes. It was best for Hong Mo to capture God Exterminating Evil Lord and interrogate him for information. Ningyu would surely meet with the Water Moon Union's higher-ups later, so it wouldn't be convenient for him to interrogate God Exterminating Evil Lord. Hong Mo wasted no time. He took out the red demon sword and stored God Exterminating Evil Lord inside. A mid-stage virtual immortal. I can finally break through to mid-stage ancestral immortal. Hong Mo was excited. He had a good chance of breaking through to mid-stage ancestral immortal back at Tai Divine Sect. Unfortunately, Ningyu told him to leave his energy for Dark Emperor and Ning Lu, so he could only contribute silently. Now, Dark Emperor and Ning Lu were only peak golden immortals. They didn't have the ability to refine God, exterminating evil Lord. Therefore, the entire God, exterminating evil Lord was his. Not bad. You didn't embarrass our water-moon union. At that moment, Zhang Jiqiang came to Ning Yu's side and patted Ning Yu's shoulder. Due to your performance, the union leader of the Water-Moon Union has decided to meet you personally. He has promised that your friend will join the union and become a first-class disciple. Swoosh! Sun Yongsheng and Lin Tu were overjoyed when they heard Zhang Jiqiang's words. Ning Yu didn't say anything. A major union like the Water-Moon Union had a strict disciple division. Outer disciple, inner disciple, third-class disciple, second-class disciple, first-class disciple, and above that were core disciples. Of course, the Water-Moon Union also had the position of saint, but it had never been given in recent years. The treatment of a first-class disciple in the Water-Moon Union was comparable to that of an ordinary high-tier dominion. Even Sun Yongsheng, the sect leader of Tai Divine Sect, could only become a second-class disciple if he joined the Water-Moon Union. Chapter 2189. Please lead the way, Elder Zhang. Ning Yu smiled at Zhang Jiqiang. Ning Yu had expected the higher-ups of the Water-Moon Alliance to meet him, but he hadn't expected the leader to come in person. According to Ning Yu's guess, the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance was at least a peak essence immortal. She might even be a peerless immortal. Follow me. Zhang Jiqiang turned and walked toward the Water-Moon restaurant. Without hesitation, Ning Yu followed Zhang Jiqiang. Ning Yu knew very well that he could only meet the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. In fact, Ning Yu didn't mind meeting the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. In fact, he was looking forward to a little rustle. Before long, Zhang Jiqiang brought Ning Yu to the top floor of the Water-Moon restaurant. The leader is in the room. Go in by yourself. I have to go back and give your friends first-class disciple tokens. Zhang Jiqiang pointed to the room in front of him and left. Taking a deep breath, Ning Yu pushed the door open and entered. Creak! As the door was pushed open, a figure appeared in front of Ning Yu. Her silky hair fell down vertically. Her clothes were as thin as a cicada's wings, giving off an extremely seductive feeling. Although her back was facing him, Ning Yu could guess that the woman in front of him must be devastatingly beautiful. The woman turned around. Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat. Soft, willowy brows, long, bright eyes, an exquisite nose, peach cheeks, red lips, jade-like skin, and a slender figure gave off a natural and tranquil vibe. After a momentary daze, Ning Yu quickly came back to his senses. May I know why the leader is looking for me? Ning Yu asked. Ning Yu's reaction surprised the woman. Everyone who had seen her was subdued by her beauty. Even the leaders of the Gods Alliance and Gods Alliance would not be able to recover so quickly after seeing her. Not simple. In her mind, the woman evaluated Ning Yu. If the disciples of the Water-Moon League knew about this woman's evaluation of Ning Yu, they would definitely be shocked. This was because women's evaluations of the Water-Moon Alliance's core disciples were all sloppy and ordinary. The woman calmed herself and said, Are you interested in joining the Water-Moon Alliance and becoming a core disciple? Do I have a choice? Ning Yu smiled wryly and said, It was all thanks to you that I was able to fight Su Ming just now. Before, Ning Yu thought that the Killing God Union's powerhouses hiding in the void did not appear because they did not want to have a conflict with the Water-Moon Union too early. But now, it seemed that it was all because of the woman before him. The elder of the Killing God Union would definitely be afraid of the chief of the Water-Moon Union. The Water-Moon Alliance has a total of 10 core disciples. The woman faintly smiled. Her red lips slightly opened, and she said, From now on, you are the 11th core disciple. It's our first time meeting, and I don't have anything good to give you. I'll just give you a few essence immortal nomological laws. As she spoke, the woman flicked her sleeves. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, 3 cold gleams shot out and charged towards Ning Yu. Ning Yu's expression changed slightly. The cold gleams were none other than essence, immortal nomological laws. Ning Yu knew very well that the woman was actually testing him when she said that she was giving him essence, immortal nomological laws. After all, there were only 10 core disciples in the Watermoon Alliance. It was inevitable that others would be displeased if he became a core disciple. Great. However, Ningyu calmed down quickly. 3 essence, immortal nomological laws were exactly what he wanted. Buzz. In order to refine the essence, immortal nomological laws as soon as possible, Ningyu activated his battle god's body. Pust. The woman could not help but gasp when she sensed the aura emanating from Ningyu. She knew that Ningyu had the battle god's body, but she did not expect that he had already awakened 90% of his bloodline. It was not difficult for a battle god's body that had awakened 90% of his bloodline to challenge someone who was a major realm above him. In other words, Ningyu is currently at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm and could easily win against a late-stage essence immortal. Crack, crack, crack. As the woman was thinking, 3 cracking sounds rang in her ears. She looked over. Ningyu swallowed the 3 essence, immortal nomological laws, and even burped. So fast. The woman was dumbfounded. Even the number 1 core disciple of the Watermoon Alliance would need a few hours to refine 3 essence, immortal nomological laws. What kind of freak was Ningyu? He only used a few minutes to refine 3 essence, immortal nomological laws. Thank you, Alliance Master. After refining the essence, immortal nomological laws, Ningyu cupped his fists towards the woman. It's all right. You can leave first. I'll get Zheng Jiqiang to contact you. The woman waved her hand, indicating that Ningyu could leave. Ningyu cupped his fists towards the woman again before leaving the room. As soon as Ningyu left, Zheng Jiqiang walked in. Get ready. The Watermoon Pool will be opened in 7 days. All core disciples can enter to cultivate. The woman said indifferently with her back, facing Zheng Jiqiang. Yes. Zheng Jiqiang did not dare to delay. He responded hurriedly and turned to leave. After Zheng Jiqiang left, the woman murmured softly, brilliant void meeting. The war god body is an unknown factor. Swash. Not long after, Ningyu arrived at the room where the Hong Fiend was. What the F***CK? Ningyu's first reaction when he saw the Hong Fiend was to curse. At that moment, the Hong Fiend's cultivation had already advanced to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. How long had it been? At the very most, it had not been more than 10 minutes. In such a short period of time, the Hong Fiend had actually advanced to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. Even Ningyu felt a little ashamed of his advancement speed. Ningyu, the god-destroying evil lord, is indeed a mid-stage essence immortal. He really has a lot of energy in his body. Upon seeing Ningyu enter, the Hong Fiend chuckled. I only refined 1/10 of his energy, and my cultivation advanced from the early-stage ancestral immortal realm to the mid-stage ancestral immortal realm. If I refine the remaining energy, I can definitely advance to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, or even the half-step essence immortal realm. You're only at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm now, right? You have to work hard. Otherwise, my cultivation will surpass yours. Ningyu rolled his eyes. He could not be bothered to argue with the Hong Fiend about this. He went straight to the point and asked, did you manage to get any useful information from the god destroying evil lord? For example, what is the relationship between the god destroying evil lord and the heavenly fiend? When he heard Ningyu's question, the Hong Fiend said seriously, I did. The heavenly fiend that came into contact with the god destroying evil lord is at the late-stage essence immortal realm. He should be at the god destroying evil lord's residence now. Ningyu listened quietly and did not interrupt. The Hong Fiend continued, I also received another important piece of information. There's an extremely valuable elixir pill in the god destroying evil lord's residence. I heard that the heavenly fiend had repeatedly instructed that there must be no mistakes with that elixir. What elixir pill? Ningyu's heart stirred as he asked. I don't know the exact name, but it seems to be one of the 9 elixir pills. It's a clone elixir pill. In short, it's a mess. The Hong Fiend thought about it and said, swish. The speaker did not mean it, but the listener did. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The Emperor Immortal Pill's clone elixir. The reason why he could awaken his bloodline power to 90% was because of the transformation elixir he obtained from the Heavenly Fiend's heart. And that elixir pill was one of the 9 clones of the Emperor Immortal Pill. Chapter 2190. To God Destroying Evil Lord's Residence. At the thought of this, Ningyu made a prompt decision to head to God Destroying Evil Lord's residence to snatch the elixir. The doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal Pill was worth his while. After all, if he obtained another doppelganger elixir, he might completely awaken the bloodline of the war god body. Moreover, snatching the elixir was not only beneficial to him, but could also suppress Di Wentian. Di Wentian was refining the Emperor Immortal Pill, and if he succeeded, the consequences would be unimaginable. Are we going now? Red Devil was slightly startled. Give me some more time. I will be able to advance to the late ancestral immortal stage. Advance my ass. Let's go. Ningyu kicked Red Devils, but lead the way. Any delay will lead to changes. To be honest, Ningyu was a little worried. God-destroying Evil Lord and Golden Snake seemed to have a good relationship. Perhaps Immortal Monarch Golden Snake knew about the elixir in his mansion. Compared to the 3 elemental immortal laws from Water Moon Alliance leader, Ningyu was more inclined to the doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal Pill. Swish! Swish! Under Red Devil's lead, Ningyu and the rest quickly arrived at God, destroying Evil Lord's residence. However, Ningyu didn't foolishly show his true face. Instead, he disguised himself. There's someone inside. As soon as he stopped, Ningyu's expression turned slightly solemn. With his keen senses, he could naturally sense that there were several terrifying auras in God, destroying Evil Lord's residence. 2 late elemental immortals, 3 intermediate elemental immortals. There was even a peak elemental immortal expert. Be careful. Ningyu took a deep breath, then carefully entered God, destroying Evil Lord's residence. Although he had obtained 3 elemental immortal laws from Water Moon Alliance leader, it was still difficult for Ningyu to fight against a peak elemental immortal expert with his current combat strength. Therefore, this operation was destined to not be simple. Hand over the elixir, and I will spare your life. At the same time, in a secret room not far from Ningyu and Red Devil, several groups of people were confronting each other. There were 6 people in the secret room. Experts at the peak of the Essence Immortal realm formed their own faction. The remaining 2 were at the late-stage Essence Immortal stage and the mid-stage Essence Immortal stage. They were split into 2 factions. Each faction had a late-stage Essence Immortal and a mid-stage Essence Immortal. However, one of them even had an Ancestor Immortal late-stage martial artist. If Ningyu were here, he would definitely realize that he knew this late-stage ancestral immortal warrior. It was none other than Su Ming. The martial artist who spoke was Su Ming. He stared coldly at the peak essence immortal martial artist and said in a low voice, "You can't protect that elixir by yourself. I do want to hand over the pill, but there are 2 groups of people here. Who should I give the pill to?" The peak stage essence immortal martial artist smirked and said indifferently, "Why don't I split the elixir in half and split it between your sects?" Humph. Stop trying to sow discord here. Su Ming snorted. "We're all from the Brilliant Void Alliance, and you're a heavenly demon. Since you dared to cause trouble in Tianxing City, you're doomed. Do it." As he spoke, Su Ming took out a red jade bottle from his robes and popped it into his mouth. Buzz. As the red jade bottle entered his mouth, Su Ming's aura rose rapidly. In a short time, Su Ming's aura reached a terrifying peak late-stage essence immortal. Hee, if you want the elixir, you can come and get it. The peak stage essence immortal martial artist was not worried. He smiled and said, "I'll just stand here and see if you have the ability." He seems to have a well-thought-out plan. In the void, the red fiend frowned, feeling a little puzzled. Logically speaking, this was Tianxing City. No matter how powerful a peak stage essence immortal heavenly demon was, he should not be so calm. On Su Ming's side, There were 3 late-stage essence immortal martial artists and 2 mid-stage essence immortal martial artists, including himself. Although it would be difficult for this force to defeat the heavenly demon would not be able to escape easily either. As for Su Ming and the others, they just needed to stall for time until the leader of the Gods Alliance or the Gods Alliance arrived. The peak stage essence immortal heavenly demon would die without a doubt. Nonsense. Of course he's confident. If it were you, you'd be confident too, Ningyu said grumpily. The heavenly demon had the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone elixir. This was where his confidence came from. Everyone had their own selfish motives. Su Ming and the other Essence Immortals were no exception. They were all thinking of taking the elixir for themselves. As for calling the Alliance leader over, what a joke. Only a fool would do that. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. Just as Ningyu said, to avoid attracting attention, Su Ming and the Gods Alliance people even set up an array around the secret room to prevent them from being discovered. The peak stage essence immortal heavenly demon was not anxious at all. He fought with Su Ming and the others while waiting for something. Are more heavenly demons coming? Ningyu's expression changed slightly. He said to the Red Fiend, "Watch me later." No problem. The Red Fiend was not stupid. He knew what to do and what not to do. Pucci. Although the peak primordial immortal heavenly demon was a Buddha-like attack, the 2 mid-stage primordial immortal martial artists on Su Ming's side could not withstand it and were sent flying several feet away. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The auras of these 2 mid-stage primordial immortal martial artists had fallen to rock bottom, and they had lost their ability to fight. Just like that, Ningyu and the Red Fiend waited quietly. Inside the secret chamber, Su Ming and the other 2 late-stage primordial immortal martial artists gave it their all, but they still couldn't defeat the heavenly demon. We can't go on like this. Since everyone wants the pills, why don't we let go of our former enmity and go all out? Let's defeat the heavenly demons first. Su Ming said in a low voice after forcing back the heavenly demon with one move. I agree. No problem. The other 2 late-stage primordial immortal martial artists agreed. Rumble. It was time to go all out. The 2 late-stage essence immortal martial artists did not hesitate to burn their blood essence and life force to increase their strength. In an instant, they raised their auras to the peak of the primordial immortal realm. Su Ming, on the other hand, took out a few more jade bottles and tossed them into his mouth. Boom! As the jade bottles entered his mouth, Su Ming's aura soared to the peak of the primordial immortal realm. A peerless immortal's blood essence? Ningyu's pupils constricted when he sensed the fluctuations of Su Ming's aura. It was difficult for Su Ming to raise his aura to the peak of the primordial immortal realm by relying on the blood essence of a peak primordial immortal martial artist alone. There was only one explanation for this situation. The blood essence Su Ming had devoured was at least a peerless immortal, or a half-step peerless immortal. Damn it, why isn't it here yet? The peak primordial immortal heavenly demon was finally moved. He couldn't help but curse, then raised the pill above his head and yelled, "Stop! Stop right now, or I'll destroy it." Destroy it? Su Ming said sinisterly. We've already set up an array around it. Even if you destroy it, we can gather it again. A peak primordial immortal heavenly demon should be able to exchange a lot of merit points from the Hall of Merit. It's worth it. It's a buy one get one free deal. Chapter 2191. Fine. You forced me to do this. Don't regret it. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon clenched his fists, then exerted force in his right hand and threw the pill far away. Open. When he threw the pill, the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon opened his mouth and spat out a cold beam. Crack! The cold beam was faster than the pill. It opened the array that Su Ming and the others had set up before the pill did. Swoosh! The pill instantly disappeared from Su Ming and the others' sight through the opening. You have a death wish. Seeing the pill fly away, Su Ming and the other 2 martial artists' expressions turned ferocious. We'll meet again. After throwing the pill, The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon waved at Su Ming and the others, then tore open the void and went in. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon burned his blood essence to block Su Ming and the others' blockade for only a second before it was completely blasted apart. After him, Su Ming was furious. He had no time to think. He immediately went into the void and gave chase. Su Ming and the other two late-stage virtual immortal martial artists made the same choice. They chased after the heavenly demon, not the pill. In their opinion, the pill thrown by the heavenly demon was definitely fake. As long as they could capture the heavenly demon, wouldn't the pill be a piece of cake? Of course. Ningyu, who was hidden in the void, had a different opinion from Su Ming. He had seen the clone of the Emperor Immortal pill before. He sensed a familiar aura from the pill that the heavenly demon had thrown out. As expected, the pill that the heavenly demon had thrown out was the clone of the Emperor Immortal pill. I threw the pill towards the west of Tianxing City. Now, I'll distract these troublemakers. You're in charge of taking the pill away and giving it to Master. The peak virtual immortal heavenly demon used a secret technique to communicate with someone as he fled. Got it. An almost undetectable voice rang in the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon's ears. Upon hearing this reply, the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon revealed a relieved expression. As long as the pill was safe, he could deal with Su Ming and the others without worry. What the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon did not notice was that in the west of Tianxing City, two figures were tearing open the void and chasing after the pill. That's right. These two figures were Ningyu and Hong Mo. With his keen senses and the fact that he had seen the doppelganger elixir of the Emperor Immortal pill, Ningyu could tell that the heavenly demon had thrown out the elixir he was looking for. There seems to be someone there. Suddenly, Hong Mo's expression changed slightly as he said in a deep voice, "Do you want me to distract him while you chase after the pill? There's no need. We'll have to fight him one day." Ningyu saw more clearly. Ningyu even knew that the person who was advancing at full speed with him not far away was a heavenly demon. The reason why that heaven demon didn't stop was because this place was rather close to the Stellar Sky City. He was afraid that if he made a move here, it would cause unnecessary trouble. It was very unfortunate. Ningyu had the same thoughts as him. Swish, swish, swish. That was all. Ningyu, the Red Fiend, the Heavenly Fiend, and the elixir pill moved forward at full speed. When they were a certain distance away from Stellar Sky City, the three parties stopped at the same time. Gotcha! The void cracked, and Ningyu and the heavenly demon appeared at the same time. Are you guys going to commit suicide, or should I do it? The heavenly demon wasn't too old, and was only a little older than Ningyu. However, his cultivation level had reached the shocking early-stage essence, immortal realm. It was obvious that this young heavenly demon was a peerless genius in the heavenly demon race. However, Ningyu didn't care about the young heavenly demon's identity. He said indifferently, "I want the elixir pill. I want you too." Arrogant, the young heavenly demon bellowed and immediately rose from the ground, charging towards Ningyu. Oomph. Looking at the young heavenly demon that was charging towards him, Ningyu snorted coldly. He didn't make any move to block, but instructed Hong Mo to fuse with the Red Fiend sword. Ningyu knew very well that the young heavenly demon would definitely turn his head to collect the elixir pill that was floating in midair. It was just as Ningyu had expected. When the young heavenly demon was only a few steps away from Ningyu, he suddenly turned his head and charged towards the elixir pill. Luckily, I'm prepared. Ningyu's lips curled up slightly as he suddenly threw out the Red Fiend sword. The Red Fiend sword was very fast and actually arrived beside the elixir pill before the young heavenly demon. Damn it! The young heavenly demon cursed when he saw the flying sword that suddenly appeared in front of him. The Red Fiend didn't disappoint Ningyu. Under his control, the Red Fiend sword swallowed the elixir pill. Hand over the elixir pill. The young heavenly demon roared crazily. If he couldn't bring the elixir pill away, he would definitely be killed by Di Wentian. In order to survive, he had to use all his strength to snatch the elixir pill back. This elixir pill was an important part of the Emperor Immortal pill. The Emperor Immortal pill had 9 doppelgangers, and this one was refined in Stellar Sky City. This was because the special ingredients needed to refine this elixir pill could only be found in Stellar Sky City. For this, they spared no expense to instigate the god-destroying evil lord. After paying such a huge price, they finally managed to refine the doppelganger pill. If it was snatched away by someone else, how could Di Wentian spare him? Young man, don't be so hot-tempered. Ningyu leaped out and stood in front of the young heavenly demon. He said indifferently, "What are the benefits of following Di Wentian? Why don't you submit to me? You're courting death." The young heavenly demon was flustered and exasperated. He immediately launched a powerful attack at Ningyu. Bang! However, the young heavenly demon was only at the early stage essence immortal realm. No matter how talented he was, it was difficult for him to be Ningyu's match. One punch. With just one punch, Ningyu defeated the young heavenly demon. Ningyu used the war god body and 7 essence immortal nomological laws for this punch. One had to go all out against an enemy. Let me ask you a few questions. Ningyu did not kill the young heavenly demon. Instead, he stepped on his chest with his right foot and said, "If you can answer me honestly, I can consider sparing your life." Sparing my life? Ha ha ha. The young heavenly demon laughed maniacally. Don't be too smug. To tell you the truth, the heavenly demon army will attack Tianxing City soon. By then, all of you will die. Since you are courting death, I can only fulfill your wish. Ningyu exerted a little force with his right foot and instantly broke the young heavenly demon's neck. At the same time, Ningyu opened the red fiend sword and stored the young heavenly demon inside. Although the young heavenly demon was only at the early stage essence immortal realm, his body contained a lot of energy. If the Dark Emperor and Ning Lu devoured him, they should be able to advance to the ancestral immortal realm. Swish! The red fiend came out of the red fiend sword and threw the pill to Ningyu. Ha! Catching the pill firmly, Ningyu released his perception and observed it carefully. A moment later, Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. This pill is of a higher quality than the one I obtained from the heavenly demon's heart previously. Ningyu was extremely satisfied. With this pill, he would definitely be able to advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm, or even a half-step essence immortal. However, Ningyu had already made arrangements. He wanted to make use of this pill to completely awaken the war god-body bloodline. Chapter 2192. Let's go back to Tianxing City. After accepting the elixir, Ningyu's figure flashed and immediately flashed towards Tianxing City. Ningyu was no fool. He obtained the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone pill, which was extremely precious. Di Wentian would definitely send people to search for it soon. There was still some distance between this place and Tianxing City. Ningyu did not want to fight the experts sent by Di Wentian here. To him, the most important thing was to hurry back to Tianxing City and use the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone pill to awaken the divine body of War Bloodline. As for other matters, they had nothing to do with him for now. Swoosh! Since Ningyu had left, Hong Imo naturally would not stay. He followed closely behind Ningyu and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Crack! Not long after Ningyu and Hong Imo disappeared, the void suddenly broke and 2 figures appeared. If Ningyu knew that someone was coming, he would definitely feel very lucky, because the 2 figures that appeared were both peak stage essence immortals. Given Ningyu and Hongmo's strength, it was already very difficult to deal with 1 peak stage essence immortal martial artist, let alone 2. We're a step too late. One of the slightly plump martial artists frowned slightly. He looked around and said, "The pill should have been taken away." The other slightly thinner martial artist had an ugly expression. He said in a low voice, "It'll take more than 10 minutes to reach Tianxing City from here, even at full speed. Why don't we give chase?" After thinking about it, the slightly plump martial artist shook his head. It's too late. Since they didn't stop, it means that they're already prepared. Even if we give chase now, it'll be too late. Then what should we do? We have to do something. Otherwise, Master Will. The slightly thinner martial artist hesitated. What are you panicking for? The slightly plump martial artist reprimanded. We weren't responsible for the pill in Tianxing City. Even if Master knows, he won't blame us. But for safety's sake, we still have to go to Tianxing City and pretend. Swoosh! Swoosh! They immediately tore open the void and entered. Time passed. More than 10 minutes later, they stopped 3,000 meters away from Tianxing City. They were different from the heavenly demon Su Ming had been chasing. The reason the heavenly demon Su Ming was chasing could stay in Tianxing City was because he had an aurican sealing artifact that Di Wentian had given him. But they didn't. A distance of 3,000 meters was the limit. Any closer, and he might be discovered by the peerless immortals in the city. We'll wait here for a while and capture a few human warriors to report back. The slightly plump martial artist had a clear train of thought. The only way to prove that they had been here was to capture a few human warriors and bring them back. Voila! Not long after, 3 figures approached from afar and gradually appeared in front of the slightly plump martial artist and the other 2. The 3 martial artists that were rushing over did not surprise the slightly plump martial artist. However, one of the martial artists was carrying a person that shocked the slightly plump martial artist. The peak stage primordial immortal sky fiend that Di Wentian had arranged to be in Stellar Sky City was the person in charge of the Emperor Immortal Pill's clone. How did he get caught? The slightly plump martial artist's eyes flickered as he struggled internally. To save him or not to save him? That was the question. If they saved him, they were very close to Tianxing City and the danger level was high. If they didn't, Di Wentian would know that they were not going to save him. Therefore, the slightly plump martial artist had no other choice. How unlucky! Su Ming and the other 2 late-stage virtual immortals did not know about the heavenly demon hiding in the void. They were furious. They had gone through so much trouble to chase a peak virtual immortal heavenly demon, but in the end, they had not obtained the pill. The only thing that comforted them was that they had captured a peak virtual immortal heavenly demon. Otherwise, it would have been a wasted effort. What do we do with him? The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance said in a low voice, I think we should kill him and split his corpse into 2 parts. 1 for each of us. 1 for each of us. Su Ming raised an eyebrow. There are 3 of us. Even if we each get 1, we should split the corpse into 3 parts. Why 2? You 2 are from the Gods Alliance, and I'm from the Gods Alliance. The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance shrugged and said, My method of distribution couldn't be better. Oomph. Don't spout nonsense here. Su Ming snorted. If you piss me off, you won't even get 1 part. However, before Su Ming could finish his cold words, his expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. What's going on? The late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance was confused. Puffed. However, opportunities always came to those who were prepared. Not long after Su Ming and the Gods Alliance retreated, the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance was hit by a fist that came out of the void. His head was smashed on the spot, and his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Heavenly Demon. Su Ming stared at the plump and thin martial artists in the void, and his heart sank to the bottom. Su Ming's keen senses could naturally tell that the plump and thin martial artists were both peak virtual immortals. They had just gone through a huge battle, and now the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance was killed. How could they fight against a heavenly demon that had suddenly appeared? However, Su Ming's reaction was swift. He grabbed Anda's neck and said coldly, Don't come any closer. If you take another step forward, I'll kill him. Su Ming knew very well that someone had come to intercept them at this time for the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon they had captured. As long as the peak virtual immortal heavenly demon was in their hands, he and the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods Alliance would be safe. As expected, the plump and thin martial artist stopped when they saw Su Ming restraining Anda. Let him go, and I'll spare your lives. The plump martial artist's face darkened. Otherwise, I'll kill you even if Anda dies in battle. Deal. Su Ming agreed to the plump martial artist's request without a second thought. Although this place was close to Tianxing City, the two heavenly demons before him were confident that they could kill him before the peerless immortals received the news and came here. Su Ming didn't want to take the risk, so he suggested, "How about this? Sun Mao will be your hostage, and Anda will be mine. I'll leave Sun Mao behind, and I'll take Anda to Tianxing City. We'll stop 1,000 meters away from the city. When the time comes, we'll both let go. Sun Mao will rush to Tianxing City, and Anda will go to you. What do you think?" The plump martial artist frowned. Although he felt that something was off, the current situation didn't allow him to think too much. Thus, after a moment's thought, the plump martial artist said in a low voice, "Deal. Sun Mao, I'll have to trouble you for now." Chapter 2193. Su Ming quickly crossed the 2,000 meters. Su Ming did not go back on his word. When he was 1,000 meters away from the Stellar Sky City, he chose to stop. "So your name is Anda?" Su Ming smirked. He looked at the heavenly demon and said eerily, "Heavenly demons are stupid creatures indeed. I didn't get the pill, but I can enjoy you alone. That's not too bad." Swoosh. As he spoke, Su Ming grabbed Anda and entered Tianxing City without looking back. Crack, crack, crack. In the distance, when the plump martial artist saw Su Ming leaving with Anda, he clenched his fists in anger, making cracking sounds. Crack. Enraged, he punched Sun Mao, who was in front of him. The late-stage virtual immortal Sun Mao's head was blown off, and he died on the spot. "Take their corpses and leave." The plump martial artist glared at Tianxing City, then tore through the void and entered. Next to him, the skinny martial artist waved his hand and grabbed Sun Mao and the late-stage virtual immortal from the Gods' Alliance into a spatial artifact. Then, he followed the plump martial artist and left. Boom! Ningyu did not know what happened outside Tianxing City. After returning to Tianxing City, Ningyu immediately immersed himself in cultivation. Of course, Ningyu's cultivation was not to break through to the peak ancestral immortal realm, but to awaken the divine body of war bloodline. In the room of Shuei restaurant, Ningyu swallowed the pill he obtained and activated his mental cultivation method to devour it. As he activated his mental cultivation method, the pill gradually disintegrated. Terrifying energy surged in Ningyu's body. Ningyu seized the opportunity to activate the divine body of war bloodline in his body and forcibly awaken the bloodline. Ningyu had already awakened 90% of the divine body of war bloodline. Logically speaking, the last 10% was the hardest to awaken. When he first awakened the first 10% of the divine body of war bloodline, Ningyu used a pill. Now that he had awakened the last 10% of the divine body of war bloodline, Ningyu still prepared a pill. After all, the two elixirs that Ningyu had prepared were no ordinary elixirs. They were the doppelgangers of the Emperor Immortal Pill. The value of each pill was immeasurable. Drip, drip. Time passed by quickly. Awakening the last 10% of the bloodline was not something that could be done overnight. 1 day later, Ningyu was still cultivating in seclusion. 3 days later, Ningyu was still cultivating in seclusion. Until the 7th day, boom! A terrifying aura suddenly rushed out from Ningyu's room. However, this aura disappeared in a flash, and very quickly it disappeared. At this moment, Zheng Jiqiang and Song Qing looked at each other outside the room. They could see the extreme shock in each other's eyes. They could never have imagined it. In 7 days, Ningyu's strength actually had a qualitative leap again. At this rate, what would happen when Ningyu cultivated in the Water Moon Pool for a period of time? The vacant successor position of the Water Moon Alliance might be taken by Ningyu. Creak. Calming himself down, Ningyu opened the door and walked out. Old Zheng, Song Qing? Seeing the two figures standing outside the room, Ningyu asked in confusion, "What's the matter?" "Haha, congratulations on your improvement." Zheng Jiqiang smiled and said, For the brilliant void meeting in 20 days, the Alliance Master has decided to open the Water Moon Pool for all core disciples to cultivate. Water Moon Pool? Ningyu frowned slightly. Zheng Jiqiang explained, generally speaking, as long as your talent is not too low, your cultivation level will increase by 1 level after cultivating in the Water Moon Pool for 20 days. I see. Ningyu nodded. There's no time to lose. Let's go now. Zheng Jiqiang moved and walked downstairs. Ningyu did not ask and followed closely behind Zheng Jiqiang. As for the Hong Fiend, Ningyu did not choose to bring him along. Even if Ningyu shouted, the Hong Fiend would probably not go. At that moment, the Hong Fiend was refining the remaining energy of the god, destroying Evil Lord with all his might to break through to the mid-stage or even late-stage ancestral immortal realm. The Hong Fiend knew his own limits. The Water Moon Pool was filled with core disciples of the Water Moon Alliance. If he went, he would definitely be a burden to Ningyu. Sha! Following Zheng Jiqiang through a few streets, Ningyu and the others finally stopped in front of a luxurious palace. Water Moon Alliance. Raising his head and looking at the 3 huge words above the palace, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. The person who wrote those words was definitely at least at the peak of the essence immortal realm. This was written by the number 1 core disciple, Xiao Yi. As though sensing Ningyu's doubts, Zheng Jiqiang explained, when you see Xiao Yi later, I hope you don't get into a conflict with him. Xiao Yi has a weird personality. It would be weird if he didn't have a weird personality. Ningyu nodded his head in agreement on the surface. However, he was thinking to himself, who would call himself a midnight snack? Is he hungry every night? That's weird. Shaking his head, Ningyu entered the luxurious palace with Zheng Jiqiang and the others. The palace was bustling with people. Sensing the auras that these people exuded, Ningyu's expression turned grim. Everyone present was at the essence immortal realm. Only he and Song Qing were at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. Whoosh! When they saw Ningyu and the others enter, the surrounding martial artists turned their gazes over. He's the 11th core disciple. I heard that the Alliance Chief personally appointed him as the 11th core disciple. I wonder what he's capable of. He's definitely capable. Otherwise, why would he be here? If I'm not wrong, the Alliance Chief is going to open the Water Moon Pool today. You should be here to head over there. Hee, there's going to be a good show. Just now, the Alliance Chief personally ordered that only 10 people are allowed to enter the Water Moon Pool. Don't underestimate Ningyu. In front of the Water Moon restaurant, Ningyu defeated the mid-stage essence immortal Evil Lord, the god-destroying Evil Lord. Someone reminded them kindly. However, it was clear that no one cared about the reminder. They passed through the crowd. Before long, Ningyu, Zheng Jiqiang, and the others entered a large hall. There were many people in the hall, including Ningyu, Zheng Jiqiang, and the others. There were only 13 of them. Of the remaining 10 people, 9 were core disciples. The last one was the Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance. Today, the Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance did not show her face. Instead, she covered her face with a veil. Since everyone is here, I'll explain the rules. The Alliance Chief of the Water Moon Alliance waved her hand casually and closed the door of the hall. Only 10 people are allowed to enter the Water Moon Pool to cultivate. Therefore, 1 out of the 11 of you has to be abandoned. I won't interfere with your choice. I'll leave the next hour to you. You can choose who will be abandoned. After saying that, the Alliance Chief leaped up and sat down on a stone chair not far away. Swish! Instantly, everyone shifted their gaze to Ningyu. At this time, even if the core disciples had grievances in the past, they would unite against the outsiders. After all, Ningyu was an outsider who had only joined the core disciples recently. They probably didn't need to say who would be expelled. Everyone knew who would be expelled. However, there was an exception. Song Qing's eyes flickered. He didn't join the other 9 core disciples. He quietly stood with Ningyu. Obviously. Chapter 2194. Song Qing, you should know what you're doing. If your head isn't rusty, please don't do anything stupid. Among the 9 core disciples, a cultivator in blue robes who was about 20 years old, said, "The water moon pond only has a total of 10 spots. If you want to protect Ningyu, then we can only apologize to you." The martial artist who spoke was He Hui, ranked 8th among the core disciples of the Water Moon League. Initially, He Hui had always been respectful when he met Song Qing and did not dare to be too arrogant. After all, Song Qing was ranked 3rd among the core disciples. But now, with the support of the other core disciples, He Hui was much more confident. He looked at Song Qing coldly and said sinisterly, "We'll give you 5 minutes to think. After 5 minutes, we'll decide whether you or Ningyu will be eliminated." After saying that, He Hui crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ningyu with interest. He Hui did not know much about Ningyu. He only knew that Ningyu defeated the god-exterminating evil lord of the god-exterminating sect and gained the upper hand against Su Ming of the god-exterminating alliance. Rumors. Ningyu is very strong. However, as the saying goes, seeing is believing. He Hui did not think that Ningyu was very strong. After all, Ningyu's cultivation was only at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. Song Qing's eyes flickered when he heard He Hui's words. No one knew what he was thinking. Song Qing's decision to help Ningyu was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, but after careful consideration. The other core disciples did not see it, but he saw it clearly. Even though Su Ming used blood-devouring body, he was still defeated by Ningyu. A moment later, Song Qing took a step forward and said coldly, "The 10 spots to enter the Water Moon pool are easy to determine. Whoever is last will be eliminated." Swoosh! Instantly, the expressions of the core disciples changed. The core disciples who changed their expressions were ranked at the bottom. If it was really like what Song Qing said, they would be the ones with the highest chances of being eliminated through a martial arts competition. Whoosh! Therefore, these martial artists turned their gazes to He Hui, wanting him to stand up for them. He Hui enjoyed everyone's gazes very much. "Oomph." He snorted coldly and said angrily, "Song Qing, don't be shameless. Today, I'll make it clear that the person who was abandoned was either you or Ningyu. Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror? Who do you think you are?" He Hui's lips curled into a smile as he continued, "If you know what's good for you, get the hell out of here. One less person entering the Water Moon Pond means we'll be able to get more energy." At first, Ningyu did not say anything. This was because Ningyu felt that he was, after all, a new core disciple. Saying too much would only cause unnecessary trouble. But now, Ningyu finally understood. Whether he spoke or not, he would be ostracized. Even Song Qing, who had helped him, was ostracized by many core disciples. Ningyu was fine, but Song Qing suffered. Under such circumstances, Ningyu naturally decided to fight back. Shrugging, Ningyu turned to look at Song Qing and asked doubtfully, "What's wrong recently? Why are there flies buzzing in my ears?" Song Qing was also holding back his anger. Hearing Ningyu's words, he echoed, "The weather hasn't been good recently, so there are more flies. It might be better after a while." "Ah, flies are always annoying." Ningyu sighed. "What did you say?" He Hui's eyes were about to pop. He glared at Ningyu and said angrily, "Say it again if you have the guts." Song Qing, did you hear that? It seems there are flies buzzing again." Ningyu deliberately put his hand to his ear and said with a slightly exaggerated expression, "I'm so angry." Before Song Qing could answer, He Hui stepped on the ground and rushed toward Ningyu. At this moment, He Hui was very angry. He Hui only had one thought in his mind. He wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know that he had to pay the price for being arrogant. Seeing He Hui rushing toward Ningyu, the rest of the core disciples had different thoughts in their minds. The core disciples with a higher ranking didn't care. They just wanted to see Ningyu's strength. As for the core disciples with a lower ranking, they focused on the battlefield. When two tigers fought, one of them would definitely lose. It didn't matter if Ningyu lost or if He Hui lost. In short, as long as one of them lost, the person who would be kicked out would be determined. So annoying. Looking at He Hui, who was constantly rushing toward him, Ningyu rolled his eyes. He clenched his right fist and punched out casually. Bang! In an instant, Ning Yu's fist collided with He Hui's fist. A crisp sound was heard. Then, He Hui was like a kite with a broken string, falling backward in a straight line. Kacha! He only stopped when he smashed into the ground and a few of his ribs were broken. Puchi! He Hui spat out fresh blood, and his aura plummeted from late-stage ancestor immortal to freezing point. He Hui supported himself with one hand and wanted to stand up. However, he realized that he had no energy left and fell to the ground once more. He pointed at Ningyu with much difficulty and said viciously, "How dare you injure me? Idiot!" Ningyu glanced at He Hui, who was on the ground, before retracting his gaze. Ningyu felt that it was a little degrading to speak to an idiot like He Hui. What did he mean by injuring you? I nearly crippled you, and now you're asking such a stupid question? You're really strong. At that moment, over at the side of the core disciples, a young martial artist in purple robes walked forward slowly. He looked at Ningyu and said, "It's not unjust that He Hui was injured by you. He can only blame himself for not recognizing you and offending you." Ningyu did not say anything and merely looked at the martial artist in purple robes. Ningyu could tell that the martial artist in purple robes was implying something. As expected, following that, the martial artist in purple robes changed the topic and said coldly, "However, you're a new core disciple. Not only are you disrespectful to a senior core disciple, you even injured him. I'll have to teach you a lesson. Kneel down and admit your mistake." The aura of the martial artist in purple robes burst forth and pressed down on Ningyu. "Xiao Mao, don't go overboard." As though he was afraid that Ningyu would get into a conflict with the martial artist in purple robes, Song Qing said hurriedly, "He Hui asked for it. You don't talk to me about this." Xiao Mao waved his hand and interrupted Song Qing. "My patience is limited. Unless Ningyu kneels down and kowtows an apology, this matter will not end here." Ha ha ha! At the side, He Hui could not help but raise his head and laugh. With Xiao Mao's appearance, He Hui immediately became excited. Xiao Mao was ranked second among the core disciples, one rank higher than Song Qing. If Xiao Mao and Ningyu fought, He Hui did not think that Ningyu would win. At the thought of Ningyu kneeling down and kowtowing an apology, He Hui was in a good mood. Even the grade of the 7-kill sword was slightly higher than the red demon sword. The red demon sword was an ancestral treasure, while the 7-kill sword was an ingot. "Give me back my 7-kill sword." Xiao Mao clenched his fists and said viciously to Ningyu. The reason why Xiao Mao did not take the initiative to attack and snatch the 7-kill sword back was because there were still 4 essence immortal nomological laws on his wrist. Obviously, these 4 essence immortal nomological laws were left behind by Ningyu. Xiao Mao was busy resisting the essence immortal nomological laws on his wrist and did not have the time to snatch the 7-kill sword. "It's not impossible if you want the 7-kill sword." Ningyu waved the flying sword in his hand and said lightly, "As you said, kneel down and kowtow to apologize." Swoosh! When Ningyu said this, all the martial artists in the hall looked at him in shock. Even Zheng Jiqiang, who had not left yet, had a surprised look on his face. When I know, Xiao Mao was different from He Hui. Xiao Mao was Xiao Ye's biological younger brother. It was fine to offend He Hui. After all, he did not have any backing. However, offending Xiao Mao was equivalent to offending Xiao Yi. Who was Xiao Yi? Among the younger generation of the entire Sky Star City, only the exceptional geniuses of the God-slaying Alliance and the God's Alliance could slightly compete with him. "What did you say? Try saying it again." Xiao Mao could not believe his ears. He stared at Ningyu and asked, "It seems that not only are you weak, but there's also something wrong with your ears." Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said, "Kneel down and kowtow to apologize to me, and I will consider returning the 7-kill sword to you." Ah! Xiao Mao was so angry that he gritted his teeth and raised his head to let out a hysterical roar. He was furious. He had never been as furious as he was at that moment. "It's over, it's over." Song Qing's heart sank to the bottom. Although he knew that Ningyu was strong, he was definitely much weaker than that freak Xiao Yi. He had to pay the price for offending Xiao Yi today. Interesting. I wonder if he can force Xiao Yi to show his true strength. Under his thin shirt, the alliance leader of the Water Moon Alliance curled his lips slightly and said with interest, Xiao Ye's growth is really too fast. Given time, I reckon he can be the alliance leader. Swoosh. This time, everyone did not look at Ningyu, but at Xiao Yi. Are we still going to make a move? Under everyone's gaze, Xiao Yi was slightly helpless. In fact, when Zheng Jiqiang brought Ningyu over, he had already guessed that the alliance leader wanted him to test Ningyu. It was said to test Ningyu, but in fact it was to test him. This was because the alliance leader had asked him more than once what level his strength had reached. Xiao Yi knew very well. The alliance leader wanted to pass the alliance leader position to him. After all, the Brilliant Void Conference would be held a while. At that time, all the major alliances would be cancelled. The original major alliances would become the palace, and he would be appointed as the palace master of the Water Moon Palace. To be honest, Xiao Yi did not want to be the palace master. To him, the most important thing was to kill the heavenly demon, not to stay and fight with the other major alliances for power. Ningyu, as long as you could take 3 punches from me, today's matter will be written off. Xiao Yi moved her feet and took a step forward. She said to Ningyu, if you cannot receive it, then please leave. Deal. Ningyu flicked his wrist and threw the 7-kill sword to Xiao Yi. At the same time, the essence immortal laws that were wrapped around Xiao Mao's wrist were also retracted. In the entire hall, the only ones that made Ningyu feel pressured were the alliance leader and Xiao Yi. Strictly speaking, Ningyu was not absolutely confident that he could take 3 punches from Xiao Yi. The first punch, Xiao Yi clenched his right fist and punched lightly. Ningyu was shocked. On the surface, Xiao Yi's punch looked very ordinary and weak. However, Ningyu knew that the power of Xiao Yi's punch could even kill an ordinary peak essence immortal. Am I going to use the war god's body for the first punch? Ningyu's expression was a little solemn. He gritted his teeth and decided not to use the war god's body for the first move. Instead, he used the 7 essence immortal laws to block it. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With a thought, Ningyu used 7 essence immortal nomological laws in an instant and wrapped them around his fist. Bang! In the next moment, Ningyu's fist, which was surrounded by the 7 essence immortal laws, collided with Xiao Yi's seemingly ordinary fist. The two collided. Xiao Yi stood on the spot and did not move, while Ningyu retreated dozens of feet until he was pushed to the edge of the hall. This blow. Chapter 2196. Whoosh. Although Ningyu was at an absolute disadvantage, the fact that he was able to block Xiao Yi's punch and not fall to the ground still caused a huge uproar in the hall. Who was Xiao Yi? He was the #1 peerless existence among all the core disciples. Even an ordinary peak stage essence, immortal, might not be able to block Xiao Yi's punch. In the eyes of the crowd, Ningyu's performance was already amazing enough. Not bad. After the attack, Xiao Yi did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked at Ningyu and said calmly, "Your strength is a little beyond my expectations." Although Xiao Yi looked calm on the surface, that was not the case. In his heart, there was already a huge wave of shock. One had to know, his seemingly ordinary punch could kill a peak stage essence immortal. Xiao Yi knew that although he did not use his full strength, Ningyu did not use his full strength either. Take my second punch. Xiao Yi bent his legs slightly and instantly shot out. Swoosh! An afterimage flashed past. In an instant, Xiao Yi appeared in front of Ningyu. God of War Body. Looking at Xiao Yi in front of him, Ningyu no longer held back and decided to use the God of War Body. Ningyu's strongest move was awakening 100% of the bloodline of the God of War Body, not the 7 essence immortal laws. The first move, Ningyu tested Xiao Yi's true combat strength. Therefore, he decided to use the second move to determine the winner with Xiao Yi. I hope you can awaken more bloodline power. Xiao Yi already knew that Ningyu had the God of War Body. The only thing he was unsure of was how much bloodline power Ningyu had awakened. After all, the difference between 10% bloodline power and 100% bloodline power was like heaven and earth. The immortal energy in his body wrapped around his fist. Xiaoyi did not hold back at all in this punch. Bang! Under the gaze of the crowd, Ningyu's fist and Xiao Ye's fist collided. The two fists collided and a crisp sound was heard. Swoosh! Swoosh! Then, the two figures retreated rapidly. Each of them took a few steps back before stopping. Hua! After the second move, the crowd in the hall was completely dumbfounded. Why was Ningyu getting stronger and stronger? In the first exchange, Ningyu was at a complete disadvantage and almost lost his footing. Who would have thought? In the second exchange, Ningyu had actually switched from a shotgun to a cannon and was now evenly matched with Xiaoyi. No one had expected such a situation. Pucci. At this moment, Ningyu felt a tightness in his chest, and a stream of dark red blood suddenly spurted out from his mouth. I say, so Ningyu is just holding on. Exactly. How could Ningyu be a match for Xiaoyi? Look, Ningyu's blood is black, which means he's badly injured. Everyone discussed spiritedly, feeling that the suffocating anger in their hearts had been alleviated a lot. After all, Xiaoyi was too powerful. If Ningyu was evenly matched with him, didn't that mean that Ningyu is also very powerful? They had looked down on Ningyu previously, and they definitely did not want Ningyu to be able to contend with Xiaoyi. Ningyu, in my opinion, you should give up on the third punch. Song Qing immediately came to Ningyu's side and advised, it's not an injustice to lose to Xiaoyi. There's no need for the third punch. Ningyu took a deep breath, then turned to look at the leader of the Water Moon Alliance and cupped his fists. The matter of the quota has been settled. Please open the Water Moon pool. Hee, at least you know your limits. Xiao Mao chuckled with an arrogant expression. Aha! Ningyu, aren't you showing off? You're still going to lose your quota. Hui raised his head and laughed wildly, looking even more arrogant than Xiao Mao. All of you shut up. However, at this moment, Xiao Ye's expression turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, Hui, Xiao Mao, leave the hall immediately. The quota for the Water Moon pool has nothing to do with you. What? Xiao Mao and Hui's eyes widened when they heard Xiao Ye's words. Their faces were filled with disbelief. What's going on? Wasn't Ningyu the one who lost his quota? Why did it become the two of them? Brother, Ningyu has already admitted his defeat. Xiao Mao hurriedly tried to argue. Uft. However, Xiao Mao's words came to an abrupt halt. He saw his brother, Xiao Yi, opening his mouth and spurting out a few mouthfuls of blood. Dumbfounded, confused, various emotions appeared on Xiao Mao's face. Ningyu, you're very strong, very strong. Xiao Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and gave Ningyu a thumbs up. However, Xiao Yi quickly changed the topic and said, after cultivating in the Water Moon pool, I'm looking forward to our second fight. Sha. As he spoke, Xiao Yi moved his feet and walked towards the inner hall. Xiao Ye's direction was where the Water Moon pool was located. Xiao Mao and Hui were dumbfounded when they saw Xiao Yi leaving. Both of you. At this moment, Zheng Jiqiang arrived in front of Xiao Mao, and Hui pointed outside the hall and said, don't waste everyone's time. The Alliance leader has said that the Water Moon pool can only be opened after you leave. Swoosh. In an instant, the remaining core disciples all shifted their gazes towards Xiao Mao and Hui. Just now, they were still united. Now, they were looking forward to Xiao Mao and Hui leaving. After all, the earlier they could enter the Water Moon pool, the earlier they could obtain the benefits. Ningyu, I'm not done with you. Xiao Mao glared at Ningyu fiercely and left the hall without looking back. As for Hui, he obediently followed behind Xiao Mao. Xiao Mao had his brother's support, but Hui did not have such a strong backing. He could only leave obediently, not daring to say anything harsh. Let's go, everyone. The Water Moon pool is ready. When Xiao Mao and Hui were completely out of the hall, Zheng Jiqiang turned and pointed in the direction Xiao Yi had disappeared. How long you can stay in there will depend on your luck. Whoosh! Apart from Ning Yu and Song Qing, the remaining 6 core disciples fought to be the first to rush into the inner room. Kid, you scared me. Song Qing thumped Ning Yu's chest. I didn't expect you to be able to fight Xiao Yi to a draw. I was just lucky, Ning Yu said with a faint smile. Don't be careless. Xiao Yi naturally has his reasons for being the face of the Water Moon League, Song Qing reminded. Xiao Yi still has a move that he hasn't used yet. Once he uses it, he might even be able to fight against a half-step peerless immortal. Gasp. Hearing this, Ning Yu was finally moved. Fight against a half-step peerless immortal? Ning Yu prided himself on his strength, but no matter how strong he was, he could only fight against or kill a peak elemental immortal. Even if he used the full power of his bloodline and 7 elemental immortal laws, there was no way he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal. In fact, he would not even be able to escape from a half-step peerless immortal. The fact that Xiao Yi could fight against a half-step peerless immortal was enough to prove his strength. Don't be discouraged. Chapter 2197. I say, the two of you, can we not talk anymore? Zheng Jiqiang rolled his eyes and reminded, there are limited good spots in the Water Moon Pool. If you guys are late, all the good spots will be snatched away by others. There are indeed few good spots, but they have to have the ability to snatch them. Song Qing smiled faintly before pulling Ning Yu into the room. As for Zheng Jiqiang, he retreated to the entrance of the hall and stood guard there. Not long later, Ning Yu and Song Qing arrived at the room where the Water Moon Pool was. Where's the Alliance leader? Ning Yu looked at the Water Moon Pool and asked curiously, why isn't she here? Alliance leader has so many things to do. How can she stand guard here? Song Qing rolled his eyes at Ning Yu before leaping into the Water Moon Pool. Plop! Ning Yu withdrew his consciousness and jumped into the Water Moon Pond. So much energy? The moment he leaped into the Water Moon Pool, Ning Yu's pupils constricted. The energy in the pool rushed into his body. He didn't even need to control it himself. If I cultivate here, I'll definitely be able to reach peak ancestor immortal realm in 20 days. Ning Yu was delighted. It seemed like it wasn't a loss for him to get a spot after so much effort. Right now, he was at late-stage ancestor immortal realm. As long as he could reach peak ancestor immortal realm, his strength would increase tremendously. After cultivating for a while, Ning Yu started to observe his surroundings. After a series of observations, Ning Yu discovered a unique phenomenon. The Water Moon Pool was circular in shape, and it seemed to be divided into several grades. In the middle of the pool, there was a square platform. Among them, Xiao Yi and Song Qing were closest to the square platform. The other 6 core disciples were the same as him, cultivating at the outermost ring. Could the energy within be even denser? Thinking about it, Ning Yu carefully swam towards the square platform. A few steps later, Ning Yu realized something. I see. Ning Yu had a look of sudden realization. It wasn't that the energy inside was more vigorous, but with each round he took, the speed at which the energy entered his body doubled. If he were to cultivate in the outermost ring, he was confident that he could reach the pinnacle of the ancestor immortal realm in 20 days. But after advancing one round, he was confident that he could advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm within 10 days. A little closer. Naturally, Ning Yu would not be satisfied with the second round. He moved forward again. Soon, Ning Yu came to Song Qing's 5th lap. 2 days. Ning Yu was a little excited. In the 5th circle, he only needed 2 days to reach the pinnacle of the ancestral immortal realm. He reached the peak of the ancestral immortal stage in 2 days on the 5th ring. What if he reaches the 6th ring, the 7th ring, or even Xiao Ye's 8th punch? Ning Yu would definitely not be satisfied with the current situation. Xiao Yi was in the 8th circle, while he was in the 5th circle. After some thought, Ning Yu decided to move forward. Gulp. Everyone in the Water Moon Pond, including Song Qing, was stunned when they saw Ning Yu choose to head towards the 6th ring. One had to know, with each round he advanced, not only would the speed at which the energy entered his body increase, even the pressure he faced would increase. In other words, he could last for 20 days in the first round. But in the fifth round, he could only last for a day or even half a day. Not caring about what everyone was thinking, Ningyu moved forward step by step. Although Ningyu felt that the pressure had increased a little every time he moved forward, it was completely bearable for him. Compared to the benefits he gained, the pressure was nothing to worry about. This trip is really worth it. When he came to the seventh ring, Ningyu could not help but feel emotional. Just like that, he continued to advance. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, and he was only half a step away from it. However, when he reached the seventh ring, Ningyu felt the pressure on his body increase significantly. Thankfully, his strength had increased, otherwise he would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure of the seventh ring. One more step. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu lifted his right leg and moved forward once more. Bam! The next moment, a dull sound came from within Ningyu's body. Bang! Immediately after, a terrifying aura surged into the air. Peak ancestral immortal realm. The moment he stepped into the eighth ring, Ningyu advanced to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. Phew! Ningyu let out a long breath. If he did not advance to the peak of the ancestral immortal realm, he would not be able to stay in the eighth ring. Swash! Right then, Ningyu sensed that someone was looking at him. He raised his head and saw Xiao Yi turn back with his mouth agape. The pressure in the eighth ring is huge. I advise you not to advance any further. Just cultivate there, and you should be able to advance to the essence immortal realm. Lip reading. The immense pressure forced Xiao Yi to be unable to speak, and he could only use lip reading to communicate with Ningyu. Thanks for the reminder. Ningyu smiled at Xiao Yi before sinking to the bottom of the water moon pool and cultivating. Ningyu had yet to stabilize his cultivation level after just entering the peak of the ancestral immortal realm. If Ningyu were to continue advancing now, he would definitely not agree to it. Ningyu's thoughts were simple. He would only continue advancing after he stabilized his cultivation level at the peak of the ancestral immortal realm or half-step essence immortal realm. That was because Ningyu finally understood. The greater the pressure, the greater the rewards. In fact, Ningyu is already fantasizing about whether he could reach the square platform in the middle of the water moon pool to cultivate. One could only imagine how terrifying the square platform would be if his cultivation speed was so fast at the eighth ring. However, Ningyu knew his limits. Even Xiao Yi could only stop 3 steps away from the square platform. His strength was comparable to Xiao Ye's, and it should be difficult for him to reach the square platform. I've really picked up a treasure this time. No one knew that in the void above the water moon pool, there was a woman wearing a veil. She was none other than the leader of the Water Moon Alliance. When she saw Ningyu stop at the eighth ring, her red lips parted slightly, and a smile appeared on her face. With Ningyu and Xiao Yi here, the Water Moon Alliance should be able to win this brilliant void meeting. Should I help him? The woman thought about it and decided to give up. As for whether Ningyu could reach the square platform, it was not her place to interfere. That was because Xiao Yi had a high chance of reaching the square platform today as well. If she helped one, it would definitely be unfair to the other. Therefore, she could only let Ningyu and Xiao Yi compete. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. As time passed, the 6 core disciples at the outer ring of the water moon pool left one after another. On the 3rd day, a core disciple left. On the 5th day, 2 core disciples left. On the 10th day, including Songqing, only Ningyu and Xiao Yi were left among the core disciples in the water moon pool. No matter what, Xiao Yi and Ningyu had already made history by staying in the water moon pool for 10 days in the 8th ring. Ever since the water moon pool was built, they were the only 2 to enter the 8th ring. Look, Ningyu and Xiao Yi are moving. Chapter 2198. Swoosh! The rest of the core disciples were shocked when they heard the martial artist's words. Although they were forced to leave the water moon pool, they had been staying by the pool to consolidate their cultivation. Now that they saw Ningyu and Xiao Yi moving, they immediately shifted their gazes over. Both Ningyu and Xiao Yi were in the 8th circle of the water moon pool, not too far away from the square platform in the middle. This was especially true for Xiao Yi, who was only 3 steps away from the square platform. Previously, they had been expecting Xiao Yi to rush towards the square platform, but he would always stop when he was 3 steps away from the square platform. Today, Xiao Yi was going to rush towards the square platform. How could they not be excited? However, when Li Tongtian also rushed towards the square platform, they could not help but twitch their mouths. A look of disdain appeared on their faces. Has Ningyu lost his mind? Although he has advanced to the half-step elemental immortal realm, it is impossible for him to reach the square platform with his cultivation. In my opinion, Ningyu saw Xiao Yi moving, so he is not willing to fall behind. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? He wants to compete with Xiao Yi. Don't say that. After all, Ningyu defeated Xiao Mao and is evenly matched with Xiao Yi. This time, almost all the core disciples were not optimistic about Ningyu. Of course, Song Qing's opinion was a little different from the rest. Ever since Ningyu passed by him, he had been paying attention to Ningyu's state. He was surprised to find that even in the 8th circle, Ningyu still looked calm. Even now, he was still very calm when he started to rush towards the square platform. In fact, in just a few hours, Ningyu had shortened the distance between him and Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took a step forward, but Ningyu took a few steps forward. Now, there were only 5 steps between Ningyu and Xiao Yi. Come on. Song Qing clenched his fists, secretly cheering for Ningyu. The closer they got to the square platform, the greater the pressure. At first, only took Ningyu a few hours to advance a few steps. But after that, every step he took would take several hours or even a day's worth of time. Drip. One day passed. Xiao Yi stood there without moving, while Ningyu took a step forward. Now, there were only 4 steps between Ningyu and Xiao Yi. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. Xiao Yi was still standing in the same place, not moving, but Ningyu took another step forward. At this moment, there were only 3 steps between Ningyu and Xiao Yi. At this moment, the surrounding core disciples panicked. 2 days ago, they were still ridiculing Ningyu, but now, Ningyu was getting closer and closer to Xiao Yi. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ningyu caught up to Xiao Yi. Could it be? Would Ningyu really reach the square platform before Xiao Yi? Beside the water moon pond, the faces of the 6 core disciples were gloomy. They were secretly praying in their hearts, praying that Ningyu would not be able to hold on and be defeated. However, things always turned out differently from what they imagined. Voila! On the 4th day, Ningyu moved his feet and suddenly took 3 steps forward. Obviously, Ningyu had reached the same starting line as Xiao Yi. Swish! Xiao Yi, whose face was as calm as an ancient well, was finally moved. He knew that Ningyu was very strong. However, he had never thought that Ningyu could be this strong. Again, Xiao Yi shouted in his heart. He lifted his right foot and took another step forward, bringing the distance between him and Ningyu to another step. When the core disciples saw Xiao Yi taking a step forward, they all revealed expressions of relief. To be honest, when Ningyu and Xiao Yi reached the same starting line, they were more nervous than anyone else. Now that Xiao Yi was 1 step ahead, the stone in their hearts was once again lifted. However, Ningyu did not hesitate. When he saw Xiao Yi moving forward, he immediately lifted his right foot and took a step forward. Gasp! Seeing Ningyu's actions, all the core disciples sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Was he still human? It seemed that Ningyu still had some strength left. As for Xiao Yi, beads of sweat had appeared on his forehead. Damn it! He turned his head to look at Ningyu and cursed in his heart. There was only 1 square platform. Since Ningyu had sat on it, he could only wait for the next time. Xiao Yi gritted his teeth and let out a roar. Then he moved forward with all his might. Rumble. In order to reach the square platform, Xiao Yi did not hesitate to use his trump card, exposing his true strength to everyone's senses. What? Sensing the aura from Xiao Ye's body, Ningyu's pupils constricted. Song Qing was right. Xiao Ye's full strength was comparable to a half-step peerless immortal. Although he had ascended to the level of a half-step virtual immortal, he had less than a 30% chance of winning against Xiao Yi, still a little lacking. In the air, the leader of the Water Moon Alliance shook her head slightly. She had high hopes for Xiao Yi to become a peerless immortal. Even if Xiao Yi was comparable to an ordinary half-step peerless immortal, she was still not satisfied. Swoosh! After forcing out Xiao Ye's true strength, the leader of the Water Moon Alliance left immediately. She did not stay for another 15 minutes. She knew very well, even if Xiao Yi used all his strength, he would not be able to reach the square platform. Since Xiao Yi could not reach the square platform, Ningyu naturally could not. Therefore, there was no point for her to stay. Puffed. Reality proved that. The leader of the Water Moon Alliance's judgment was correct. Xiao Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. The terrifying aura that had just erupted from Xiao Yi dropped to the freezing point. I can't accept this. Xiao Yi raised his head and shouted, his face full of indignation. After giving Ningyu a long look, Xiao Yi had no choice but to retreat. Despite his indignation, Xiao Yi knew that he had to retreat. If he stayed even a second longer, only death awaited him. Bam! Even after retreating from the square platform, Xiao Yi did not leave the Water Moon pool. He stopped at the sixth circle of the Water Moon pond and slowly moved forward. His failure to reach the square platform had affected Xiao Yi to a certain extent, but not too much. Given time, he could still reach the eighth circle and make a second attempt at the square platform. However, Xiao Yi knew he had no chance. The Water Moon pool only opened once in a very long time, and every time it opened, it consumed a large number of energy crystals. Who knew how long it would be before the Water Moon pond could be open again? I wonder if you can reach the square platform. Xiao Yi took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Ningyu. Generally speaking, Ningyu's chances of success should be very low if even he had failed. But for some reason, he felt that Ningyu was not as simple as he seemed. In his opinion, Ningyu had a 30% chance of reaching the square platform. Chapter 2199. What exactly does Ningyu have on him that can withstand the pressure? Xiao Yi stared at Ningyu and didn't dare to move. Ningyu is only a half-step essence immortal, and it was impossible for him to withstand the pressure in the Water Moon pool with his cultivation alone. In other words, Ningyu definitely had a Dharma treasure on him that could withstand the pressure. As for what that Dharma treasure was, Xiao Yi hadn't discovered it yet. Huff! In the middle of the Water Moon pool, Ningyu took a deep breath and exhaled heavily. To be honest, initially he didn't know why he could move forward so easily in the Water Moon pool. But as time passed, he was finally sure. The things that allowed him to move forward easily in the Water Moon pool were the leftover materials from the Lightning pool and his fully awakened divine body of War Bloodline. To be precise, he relied on the divine body of War Bloodline from the first round to the 8th round of the Water Moon pool. But from the 8th round onwards, he relied on the leftover materials from the Lightning pool. Previously, Ningyu might not have been sure about the material of the square platform. But now, Ningyu was completely sure. The square platform was made of the same material as the leftover materials from the Lightning pool. They were all materials from the Lightning pool. Could the square platform be a lightning pool? Ningyu's expression was solemn. That was the only explanation. Otherwise, a leftover material from the Lightning pool wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure. Go! Biting his lips, Ningyu decided to give it a try. He lifted his right leg and took a step forward. Swish! Beside the Water Moon pond, the core disciple's eyes were wide open, not even blinking once. Boom! The next moment, Ningyu's right leg touched the square platform. A terrifying energy flowed into Ningyu's body through his right leg. It really is the Lightning pool. Ningyu's pupils constricted, and he stood rooted to the ground as though he had been electrocuted. The square platform was the Lightning pool. Why was there a lightning pool here? Moreover, from the energy that entered his body, Ningyu could tell that it was not as simple as he thought. At the very least, the lightning pool would only appear when a virtual immortal ascended to a peerless immortal. Who is the leader of the Water Moon Alliance? Ningyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He had already guessed the general situation. The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance must have captured the entire lightning pool and sealed it within the Water-Moon pool. No wonder the leftover materials from the lightning pool could withstand the pressure. Voila! When the core disciples saw Ning Yu's right foot touching the square platform, their eyes widened in disbelief. They remembered it clearly. The leader of the Water-Moon Alliance had said that whoever could touch the square platform would be the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. Ka. The reactions of the core disciples were quite normal. Xiao Ye's reaction was to clench his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. Although Xiao Ye didn't want to become the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance, he didn't want to participate in the power struggle. However, it was undeniable that Xiao Ye had always thought that he was the best candidate for the next leader. Ning Yu touching the square platform meant that his position as the leader of the Water-Moon Alliance had received a huge blow. If the current leader changed his mind, he would definitely become the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance instead of Ning Yu. Xiao Yi couldn't bear such a psychological blow. It made sense. In a short period of time, Xiao Ye's heart suffered a series of blows. First, Ning Yu advanced alongside him. Then, he failed to attack the square platform. Now, Ning Yu succeeded in attacking the square platform and became the most advantageous candidate for the position of the next leader of the Water-Moon Alliance. How could his state of mind not be affected? Xiao Yi, who was affected, spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. His aura was weak. However, Xiao Yi was indeed the #1 core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance. Even though his state of mind was affected and he was breathing weakly, he still jumped out of the Water-Moon pool. One had to know, if it was anyone else, they would probably be suffocated by the immense pressure. The fact that Xiao Yi was able to escape was enough to prove his strength. Rumble. Right at that moment, a rumbling sound came from the high platform. Lightning tribulation? Song Qing and the others were dumbfounded when they heard the rumbling sound. Why was there a lightning tribulation? Even if there was, it shouldn't have come from the square platform. Essence immortal lightning tribulation. Ning Yu's expression was solemn. He leaped on a square platform. Since no one had been here before, Ning Yu was the only core disciple of the Water-Moon Alliance who knew that the square platform was a lightning pool. Swoosh! As soon as Ning Yu jumped onto the square platform, a tribulation cloud as thick as a person's waist shot out from the bottom of the platform and slammed toward his body. Block it! Ning Yu hurriedly used his body of the war god bloodline to block the first tribulation cloud. Actually, Ning Yu couldn't be blamed. He had no choice but to use his body of the war god bloodline. The power of the first tribulation cloud was comparable to a half-step peerless immortal. Essence immortal laws were useless against tribulation clouds of the half-step peerless immortal level. Unless he used his body of the war god bloodline, Ning Yu might not even be able to block the first tribulation cloud. The next instant, the tribulation cloud crashed into Ning Yu's body. The terrifying impact caused Ning Yu to spit out a mouthful of blood, and his body swayed. Hold on. At that moment, the energy that Ning Yu had absorbed previously played a huge role. The energy that Ning Yu had absorbed from the Water-Moon pool was enough for him to break through to the essence immortal realm. However, Ning Yu was not ready. Moreover, there were so many core disciples here. He was afraid that the tribulation would be terrifying, so he deliberately suppressed the energy in his body. Unexpectedly, his impromptu decision helped him a lot. Without the help of the energy in his body, he could not stabilize himself at all. Simulated lightning pool. After blocking the first tribulation cloud, Ning Yu instantly understood. The lightning pool on the square platform was not a real one, but a simulated one. His essence immortal realm tribulation was also shot out from the simulated lightning pool. After all, the power of the real essence immortal realm tribulation would definitely be several times stronger with so many people here. The tribulation cloud's power did not increase significantly, and after the first tribulation cloud, there was no trace of the second tribulation cloud. This situation was clearly abnormal. I wonder if there is any tribulation liquid in the simulated lightning pool. Since he had confirmed that the square platform was a simulated lightning pool, Ning Yu's mind became active. If the leader of the Water Moon League could simulate a lightning pool, he could simulate tribulation liquid. If he could devour tribulation liquid, then even if he could not advance to the essence immortal realm, his strength would still increase by several times. With his current strength, because there was a lot of energy sealed in his body, he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal if he released it all at once. If he devoured some tribulation liquid, Ning Yu was almost certain that he was strong enough to hold his own against a true peerless immortal. He could easily kill a half-step peerless immortal. Of course. Chapter 2200. Let's wait and see. Ning Yu is not an indecisive person. He decided to use his perception to see if there was any heavenly tribulation fluid in the simulated electric pool. If there was, he would have profited. If not, he had nothing to lose. However, Ning Yu sucked in a breath of cold air the moment his perception entered the simulated lightning pool. At the same time, Ning Yu's face revealed a look of ecstasy. The reason why Ning Yu was ecstatic was not because he had found the heavenly tribulation fluid in the simulated electric pool, but because he had found a small bottle of something even more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation fluid. The small bottle was not too big, only the size of a palm. However, there were 10 virtual, immortal, nomological laws in the small bottle. How could Ning Yu not be excited? To him, every additional virtual, immortal, nomological law in his body would increase his strength. Now that there were 10 virtual, immortal, nomological laws in the small bottle, once he could refine them all, his overall strength would soar to the point where he could fight a peerless immortal. Come out. Ning Yu did not waste any time. He used the 7 virtual, immortal, nomological laws in his body and sent them into the simulated electric pool to bring the small bottle out. Swish, 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 swish. Under Ning Yu's control, the 7 virtual, immortal, nomological laws moved at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, they entered the simulated electric pool and brought the small bottle out. Gotcha! As soon as the small bottle was brought out, Ning Yu grabbed it and threw it into his mouth to chew. Buzz buzz! As Ning Yu chewed, the small bottle completely shattered, and the 10 virtual, immortal, nomological laws inside entered Ning Yu's body. Refined! Ning Yu sat cross-legged on the simulated electric pool and began to fully focus on refining the virtual, immortal, nomological laws. What's going on? Has Ning Yu lost his mind? There was a heavenly tribulation cloud just now. Why did it disappear now? At the edge of the Water Moon pool, many core disciples were dumbfounded when they saw Ning Yu's actions. Previously, Ning Yu had been resisting the tribulation clouds with all his might. But now, he was actually sitting there doing nothing. Something's wrong. Suddenly, some of the core disciples discovered some clues. At first, they thought that the small bottle Ning Yu had swallowed was just to replenish the energy he had expended. But now, they were finally sure. The small bottle that Ning Yu swallowed contained essence, immortal, nomological laws. They came to this conclusion because, as time passed, Ning Yu's body actually emitted the aura of the essence, immortal, nomological laws. Even though most of them were at the late-stage ancestral immortal realm, or rather, the pinnacle of the ancestral immortal realm. However, this did not hinder their sensitivity to essence, immortal, nomological laws. After all, they more or less had a few essence, immortal, nomological laws in their bodies. Damn it! Xiao Yu was naturally excluded from the shock of the core disciples. At this moment, Xiao Ye's heart was filled with anger to the extreme. All the benefits were supposed to be his. Unfortunately, he did not reach the square platform, allowing Ning Yu to take advantage of it. Humans are like that. Instead of thinking about their own problems, they would blame others for strengthening their own things. If Xiao Yi reached the square platform before Ning Yu would definitely give up. Crack, crack, crack. Xiao Yi clenched his fists tightly and secretly made up his mind. As long as Ning Yu left the Water Moon pool, he would immediately make a move to get back at him. As for whether he could snatch back the benefits that Ningyu had obtained, he was not particularly sure. Anyway, it would be best if he could snatch it back. But even if he could not, he had to let the leader of the Water Moon Alliance know that he was the most advantageous candidate for the next leader position. In the past, Xiaoyi did not want to fight for the position of the leader. But now, he was very much looking forward to snatching the position of the leader. TSK. Ningyu did not know what Xiaoyi and the other core disciples were thinking. To him, refining the essence immortal nomological laws and improving his own strength was more important than anything else. Drip, drip. Time passed minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. The essence immortal nomological laws in the simulated lightning pool were especially difficult to refine. In a day, Ningyu had refined them with all his might, but he had only refined 2 of them. At this rate, he would need at least 5 days to completely refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws. Fortunately, there were still 6 days before the brilliant void meet. As long as he refined all 10 essence immortal nomological laws before the brilliant void meet, there would be no problem. TSK. The next day, Ningyu refined another 2 essence immortal nomological laws. Next, the 3rd day, the 4th day, until the 5th day. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly emanated from Ningyu's body. Time passed much faster than he had expected. Initially, Ningyu thought that he would only be able to refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws in 5 days. But the further he went, the faster the refining speed became. In the end, it only took 4 days for Ningyu to completely refine the 10 essence immortal nomological laws. Very good. Sensing the additional 10 essence immortal nomological laws in his body, Ningyu was delighted. Given his current strength, he could fight against a half-step peerless immortal expert, even without using the energy sealed in his body. If he used the energy sealed in his body, even if he encountered a true peerless immortal expert, he could still fight. Of course, the energy sealed in Ningyu's body was limited. The more he used, the less it would be. According to Ningyu's estimation, unless he used up all the energy in his body, he could only run if he encountered a peerless immortal expert. There's still a day left. Why don't I seal some more energy? Ningyu's eyes darted around as he stared at the water moon pool, and he thought to himself. Ningyu knew the situation in his body better than anyone else. Because he had refined 10 essence immortal nomological laws, he was far from reaching his limit. Thump! Ningyu was swift and decisive. He leaped from the simulated lightning pool and entered the water moon pool again. What's Ningyu trying to do? I don't know. Is he going to continue cultivating? Of course he's going to enter the water moon pool at this time. What do you think he's doing? Ningyu is really a freak. Many core disciples were discussing beside the water moon pool. However, compared to the initial mockery and jealousy, everyone was doing very well now. There were still 2 days before the brilliant void meet. At that time, they would have to choose 5 people to represent the Water Moon League against the Gods Alliance and the Gods Slaying League. Given Ningyu's strength, he would definitely be one of the 5. At that time, if Ningyu could help them during the battle, their chances of survival would be higher. They had heard that this year's brilliant void meeting was abnormally tragic as compared to the previous ones. He's sealing the energy. Xiaoyi was more perceptive. He noticed what Ningyu was doing as soon as he jumped into the water moon pool. He had also sealed energy before. To be precise, the energy sealed in his body was no less than Ningyu's. However, Xiaoyi was a little worried. Ningyu was a person who could create miracles. Chapter 2201. Plop. Thinking of this, Xiaoyi leaped into the water moon pool like Ningyu. What is Xiaoyi doing? Why did he jump into the water moon pool again? I wonder if Ningyu's actions aroused his fighting spirit, and he wants to spar with Ningyu in the water moon pool. Everyone exclaimed. After all, Xiaoyi's failure to reach the square platform left a bad impression in their hearts. In other words, they thought that Xiaoyi was not a match for Ningyu. The honor of being the top core disciple of the Water Moon League should be given to Ningyu. In order to regain this honor, Xiaoyi might fight with Ningyu in the core of the Water Moon Pool. However, everyone was destined to be disappointed. After Xiaoyi entered the Water Moon Pool, he did not have any conflict with Ningyu. On the contrary, he was very far away from Ningyu. Chi-Chi, Xiaoyi activated the technique in his body and activated the frenzied devouring mode. He is also devouring energy. Xiaoyi's crazy actions naturally attracted the attention of Ningyu. Ningyu thought that his speed of devouring energy was fast enough, but who would have thought that Xiaoyi was not slower than him? In a sense, Xiaoyi's speed of devouring energy was a little faster than his. Devour. Ningyu shook his head and temporarily got rid of Xiaoyi's interference. How much energy Xiaoyi could devour had nothing to do with him. Anyway, he would not have any conflict with Xiaoyi in a short period of time. Chi. Time passed by quickly. A strange phenomenon formed in the main hall. The remaining 7 core disciples, including Song Qing, all gave up cultivating. Their eyes kept wandering between Ningyu and Xiaoyi. One moment, their eyes were on Ningyu. The next moment, they were on Xiaoyi. No one said a word, forming a temporary tacit understanding. In the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Xiaoyi's expression began to become serious, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Obviously, the energy within Xiaoyi's body was about to reach its limit. No matter how fast Xiaoyi could devour energy, his body could not contain too much energy. What kind of freak is he? Xiaoyi slowed down the speed at which he was devouring energy, while paying attention to the situation on Ningyu's side. When Xiaoyi saw Ningyu calmly devouring the energy, his expression turned ugly. You should know, before entering the Water Moon Pool, his cultivation level was at the early stage Essence Immortal Realm. After cultivating in the Water Moon Pool for more than 10 days, his cultivation level had advanced from the early stage Essence Immortal Realm to the mid-stage Essence Immortal Realm. However, Ningyu's cultivation level was still at the half-step Essence Immortal Realm. He really couldn't understand. Why was it that the amount of energy that a mid-stage Essence Immortal like him could store in his body could not compare to that of a half-step Essence Immortal like Ningyu? Pucci. He persevered for another 3 hours. Finally, Xiaoyi was unable to endure it any longer and was forced to leave the Water Moon Pool. Xiaoyi could feel that he was very strong, extremely strong. At this moment, even if he encountered a peerless immortal, he would not be afraid. He could kill a peerless immortal if he unleashed all the energy in his body. Not bad. Inside the Water Moon Pool, Ningyu ignored Xiaoyi. He continued to devour energy. In a short 6 hours, the energy in his body had doubled. The increase in energy in his body meant that his overall strength had increased. Now, if he unleashed all the energy in his body, coupled with the 17 Essence Immortal Laws, he could even easily kill an ordinary early-stage, peerless immortal. Of course, this was not what Ningyu wanted. His mind surged, and the spell was activated to the extreme. Ningyu sped up his energy, devouring once again. Gasp! Ningyu's actions made all the core disciples, including Xiaoyi, gasp. Genius? Peerless genius? Genius? Freak? Everyone was already a little numb. None of the names seemed appropriate. Ningyu challenged their imagination step by step, from defeating Xiao Mao and He Hui at the beginning, to reaching the square platform before Xiaoyi, and now, to making Xiaoyi enter the Water Moon Pool. All the signs pointed to Ningyu being the real deal. Swoosh! Thinking of this, all the core disciples turned to look at Song Qing. Some of the core disciples even started to curry favor with Song Qing. There were 5 core disciples participating in the brilliant void meet. One was Xiaoyi, one was Ningyu, and one was Song Qing. The remaining 2 could be chosen by all 6 of them. Song Qing and Ningyu were on good terms. If they were to curry favor with Song Qing now, Song Qing would definitely not stand idly by when necessary. If Song Qing would not stand idly by, didn't that mean that Ningyu would not stand idly by as well? Everyone had a lot of thoughts in their minds. All of a sudden, Xiao Yi was completely out of favor. In the water moon pool, Ning Yu was still devouring energy with all his might. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Ning Yu was like a machine, maintaining the same speed and never slowing down. Boom! The 5th day passed. Ning Yu leaped up and abruptly left the water moon pool. The timing was just right. After staying in the water moon pool for 24 hours, Ning Yu had absorbed as much energy as he could. It was no exaggeration. Right now, Ning Yu was no different from a human-shaped bomb. The energy inside him was no weaker than a peerless immortal. Creak! Not long after Ning Yu left the water moon pool, the closed door slowly opened from the outside. There's still 1 day left. The Alliance head summons you to the selection hall. Zheng Jiqiang appeared before everyone. Without beating around the bush, Zheng Jiqiang went straight to the point. The purpose of this gathering is to choose the 5 strongest core disciples to represent the Water Moon Alliance in the Brilliant Void Meet. With that, Zheng Jiqiang turned and left. Seeing Zheng Jiqiang's departure, the remaining core disciples, with the exception of Xiao Yi, all looked at Ning Yu. They all had the same idea. Let Ning Yu go first. Oomph. Xiao Yi was very displeased by their betrayal. He snorted coldly and took the lead to walk outside. Ning Yu rubbed his nose to show that he was innocent. He had only gone to absorb energy, as usual, and approached the square platform. He had no intention of offending Xiao Yi. However, he would deal with the situation as it came. He wouldn't take the initiative to offend Xiao Yi. But if Xiao Yi wanted to cause trouble for him, he wouldn't let him off easily. Rustle. Then, Ning Yu moved and left. Behind Ning Yu, Song Qing and the other 6 core disciples didn't dare tarry and hurried to catch up. The selection hall. All the disciples of the Water Moon Alliance knew that there would be a grand meeting in the selection hall today. In order to welcome the Brilliant Void Meet tomorrow, the selection of the Water Moon Alliance would be held in the selection hall today. The purpose of this selection was to choose the 5 strongest disciples. Of course, the selection wasn't just for core disciples. All Water Moon Alliance disciples who met the age requirements could participate. Therefore, all the disciples of the Water Moon Alliance were gathered in the selection hall today. It was said that the Alliance head was going to empower the 5 chosen disciples. Chapter 22:02. Russell. Under Zheng Jiqiang's lead, Ning Yu, Song Qing, and the rest arrived at the selection hall in no time. Swoosh! As soon as Ning Yu and the rest entered the selection hall, many martial artists in the selection hall hurriedly looked over. In fact, some disciples with lower cultivation levels chose to retreat and make way for Ning Yu and the rest. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. None of the core disciples of the Water Moon Alliance were easy to deal with. Of course, in everyone's hearts, Ning Yu was not one of them. After all, Ning Yu had just become a core disciple not long ago, and they did not know how strong Ning Yu was. Xiao Yi has advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Xiao Yi. Before entering the Water Moon pool, Xiao Yi's cultivation level was at the early stage essence immortal realm. The aura that Xiao Yi displayed now was completely different from that of an early stage essence immortal realm. Obviously, Xiao Yi had advanced to the mid-stage essence immortal realm. Xiao Yi has to take one of the 5 spots. Other than Xiao Yi, Xiao Mao is also very strong. Song Qing is not weak either. Oh yes, where's Xiao Mao? Yeah, why don't I see Xiao Mao? Hearing this martial artist's words, the martial artists in the selection hall shifted their gazes and began to look for Xiao Mao. Ever since Ning Yu became a core disciple, the number of core disciples of the Water Moon Alliance had increased from 10 to 11. Currently, there were only 9 core disciples in the selection hall. Even if Xiao Mao was taken out, there was still 1 more left. He Hui is not here either. What's wrong with Xiao Mao and He Hui? How dare they not come to such an important selection? Could it be that they have already been selected? Swoosh! The martial artists in the hall had a slight change of expression. There were a total of 5 spots. Taking out Xiao Yi, Xiao Mao, and He Hui, there were only 2 spots left. Initially, they still had a chance when there were only 5 spots. But now, it was completely impossible for them. Buzz. At this moment, the void above the selection hall suddenly split open, and a woman wearing a veil appeared in front of everyone. The leader of the Water Moon Alliance, Water Moon Fairy. A lotus rose from the water, with 3,000 strands of beautiful hair. At this moment, the Water Moon Fairy was otherworldly and otherworldly, just like a fairy. Seeing the Water Moon Fairy appear, all the martial artists in the hall shifted their gazes. They didn't think about the quota anymore. It was as if it was a pleasure to look at Shueiyue Fairy one more time. Not bad. I advanced to the mid-stage virtual immortal realm. Shueiyue Xianzi's gaze paused on Xiao Yi for a moment before shifting towards Ningyu. What? Shueiyue Fairy turned pale with fright when she saw it. Fortunately, Water Moon Fairy was wearing a veil. Otherwise, her current expression would definitely shock everyone to the extreme. 17 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. Water Moon Fairy's expression was a little ugly. Before she left the Water Moon pool, Ningyu had a total of 7 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. But now, Ningyu had 17 Essence, Immortal Nomological Laws. As expected, Ningyu devoured the 10 primordial immortal nomological laws on the square platform, which was the simulated lightning pool. Why is there so much energy in his body? Water Moon Fairy took a deep breath and tried hard to calm herself down. She probed Ningyu's body with her perception for a while, then looked a little puzzled. Generally speaking, the limit of energy that a half-step essence immortal could withstand was that of a half-step peerless immortal. However, the energy in Ningyu's body was comparable to that of an ordinary peerless immortal. Compared to Xiao Yi, the energy in Ningyu's body was several times more. Could he have devoured all the energy in the Water Moon pool? Suddenly, Water Moon Fairy thought of a possibility. At the thought of this, Water Moon Fairy waved her right hand in the void, and the situation in the Water Moon pool appeared in front of her. Hiss! She looked. Water Moon Fairy sucked in a breath of cold air. It was just as she had guessed. The energy in the Water Moon pool had been devoured by Ningyu and Xiao Yi. Although it was not completely devoured, there was only a little energy left in the Water Moon pool. One had to know. In order to create the best cultivation environment for these core disciples, she had instructed Zheng Jiqiang to prepare for 7 days. The Water Moon pool that had been prepared for 7 days had been mostly devoured by Ningyu and Xiao Yi. How could Water Moon Fairy not be shocked? From the looks of it, either Xiao Yi or Ning, you could become the leader of the Water Moon League. Water Moon Fairy took a deep breath and threw away these messy thoughts in her mind. The Water Moon pool was for core disciples to cultivate in. Not to mention that Xiao Yi and Ningyu had not completely devoured the energy inside. Even if they had, Water Moon Fairy would not have said anything. Because the more energy Ningyu and Xiao Yi devoured, the stronger they were. The brilliant void meet would be held tomorrow. With the 2 freaks, Ningyu and Xiao Yi, the Water Moon League would not have to worry about winning. Disciples below 3,000 years old and at the ancestral immortal realm can participate in the selection. Water Moon Fairy said loudly, "The rules are simple. Challenge a core disciple. As long as you can defeat a core disciple, you can eliminate him and become the new core disciple. From there, you can enter the next round of selection." Swoosh! Hearing Water Moon Fairy's words, all the martial artists in the hall were dumbfounded. Challenge the core disciple? Become the new core disciple? It had to be said. The conditions that Shueiyue Fairy had raised were challenging and extremely tempting. However, the success rate of challenging a core disciple was very low. Therefore, no one stepped forward. "I'll do it." 3 minutes later, a martial artist in gray clothes stepped forward and said, "I, Sun Xiao, challenge a core disciple. Huji." Humph! Hearing that someone chose him, Huji snorted coldly. "Sun Xiao, I know that you have advanced to the late-stage ancestral immortal realm. However, I can tell you clearly that you are still not my match. Whether I am your match or not, I will only know after I try," Sun Xiao said proudly. Are you afraid of accepting my challenge? What a joke. Hu Ji's lips curled as he stomped on the ground and rushed forward. Since you have a death wish, I will fulfill your wish. As soon as the word Yu was said, Hu Ji arrived in front of Sun Shao. He punched Sun Shao's face with a violent Yuan Qi gale. Hu Ji's punch was powerful and heavy. If Sun Shao was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he did not die. It could be seen. Hu Ji was truly enraged. After all, he was the first core disciple to be challenged. As the saying went, pick the weakest persimmon. If he couldn't defeat Sun Shao in a domineering manner, then what awaited him would only be endless challenges. Hu Ji was not a fool. Therefore, he used his full strength in his first move. We will only know who will win after we spar. Chapter 2203. Qi Qi. Sun Shao's fist emitted a terrifying wave of immortal qi. The power of Sun Shao's fist was no weaker than Hu Ji's. Damn it! Hu Ji cursed when he saw Sun Shao's fist. He hurriedly forced out his blood essence to increase the power of his first move. But unfortunately, Sun Shao's fist had already collided with Hu Ji's. Crack! The two fists collided. A crisp sound was heard. Then, Hu Ji was sent flying dozens of feet away. On the other hand, although Sun Shao vomited blood, he was still standing on the spot. In this exchange of blows, Sun Shao won by a narrow margin. Whoosh! Sun Shao's victory caused a huge uproar in the hall. Initially, they thought that the core disciples were all-powerful and had been baptized by the Water Moon Pool, so it would be difficult to win. But now, with Sun Shao as an example, they began to choose their opponents. In a short period of time, other than Xiao Yi, Song Qing, and Ning Yu, the other core disciples found their opponents. It was understandable that they did not challenge Xiao Yi or Song Qing, because Xiao Yi was a mid-stage essence immortal and Song Qing had advanced to a half-step essence immortal. But they did not challenge Ning Yu. Ning Yu was a little confused. It didn't make sense. He had suppressed his aura to the late-stage ancestral immortal. There was no reason that no one would challenge him. I said that after we come out of the Water Moon Pool, I will spar with you again. At this moment, Xiao Yi moved and came in front of Ning Yu. Swoosh! Hearing Xiao Ye's words, Ning Yu finally understood. No wonder no one came to challenge him. Given Xiao Ye's strength, no one would dare to challenge him if he revealed a bit of information. There is no need for us to fight. Ning Yu glanced at Xiao Yi and said, the brilliant void meet will begin in a day. At that time, you and I will be representing the Water Moon Alliance to participate in the brilliant void meet. I don't want to hurt anyone because of today's spar. You don't dare? Xiao Ye's expression changed, and he said in a deep voice, if you don't dare, you can say it. I won't blame you. At this point, Xiao Yi paused for a moment before continuing. However, you have to give up on the competition for the leader of the Water Moon Alliance. Ning Yu frowned slightly. He was a little confused. Give up the fight for the Alliance leader's position? Wasn't the leader of the Water Moon Alliance the Water Moon Fairy who was floating in midair? Let him and Water Moon Fairy fight for the position of Water Moon Alliance leader? Sorry, he wasn't that stupid. Don't play dumb with me, Xiao Yi said coldly. I need you to personally admit that you will not snatch the position of Water Moon Alliance's Alliance Master. I have no idea what you're talking about. Ning Yu's face darkened. Even a clay figurine would have some anger, let alone him. Xiao Yi had provoked him time and time again, causing him to be gradually angered. From Ning Yu's point of view, the reason why Xiao Yi had made things difficult for him in front of so many people was because of Xiao Mao. He had defeated Xiao Mao in the main hall, forcing Xiao Mao to lose the opportunity to cultivate in the Water Moon Pool. But what did that have to do with him? If Xiao Mao hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him, would he have caused trouble for Xiao Mao? Humph! Xiao Yi coldly snorted. He did not care about what Ning Yu was thinking and quickly rushed out. Take my punch. As Xiao Yi rushed out, he shouted, World Exterminating Fist. Boom! Inside the selection hall, when everyone saw Xiao Yi attack, they all chose to stop. Xiao Yi actually used the World Exterminating Fist. What kind of freak is Ning Yu? Why did he force Xiao Yi to use the World Exterminating Fist? Freak? In my opinion, Ning Yu offended Xiao Yi. Yes, it must be Ning Yu who offended Xiao Yi. So Xiao Yi wanted to teach him a lesson. Although these people's explanations were reasonable. However, was there a need to use the world-exterminating fist to teach Ning Yu a lesson? One had to know. When Xiao Yi was at the early stage primordial immortal, he had once fought with a peak stage primordial immortal sky fiend. At that time, Xiao Yi used the world-exterminating fist and killed that peak stage primordial immortal sky fiend with one punch. Now that Xiao Yi used the world-exterminating fist, it was obvious that it was not to teach Ning Yu a lesson. Be careful. Seeing Xiao Yi attack, Song Qing hurriedly warned. Song Qing admitted that Ning Yu was very strong. However, in Song Qing's opinion, no matter how strong Ning Yu was, it would be difficult for him to withstand Xiao Ye's world-exterminating fist. How annoying. Looking at Xiao Yi, who was constantly rushing towards him, Ning Yu's expression became extremely ugly. He decided to teach Xiao Yi a lesson. The energy in his body surged crazily and wrapped around his fist. In the next moment, Ning Yu clenched his right fist and punched out. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. Ning Yu and Xiao Yi took a few steps back at the same time. In this attack, both sides were evenly matched. Damn it! Although they were evenly matched, Xiao Yi could not help but curse in his heart. In order to defeat Ning Yu, Xiao Yi used 90% of his strength. He even used the energy he absorbed from the water moon pool. Unexpectedly, he still could not defeat Ning Yu. Take another punch from me. Gritting his teeth, Xiao Yi attacked again. This time, Xiao Yi did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to defeat Ning Yu. For Xiao Yi, whether he could defeat Ning Yu or not meant whether he could snatch the position of the leader of the Water Moon League. In this punch, he sacrificed all the energy in his body. He did not hesitate to burn his blood essence and life force. In midair. When Shui Wei Fairy saw Xiao Yi making such a big move, she opened her mouth and wanted to stop him, but in the end, she did not say anything. Xiao Yi's current state was obviously that of a madman. If she rashly stopped him, it was very likely that it would backfire. Therefore, Shui Wei Fairy did not make a move. Instead, she was highly focused. As long as either Xiao Yi or Ning Yu was defeated, she would immediately save them. After all, whether it was Ning Yu or Xiao Yi, they were both core disciples of the Water Moon League. They would represent the Water Moon League to participate in the brilliant Void Meet. Any death or injury would be a great loss to the Water Moon League. There's no end to this. Ning Yu took a step forward and used all 17 Essence Immortal Laws in his body. Moreover, Ning Yu also used the bloodline of the god of War Body. No matter what, Xiao Yi was a mid-stage Essence Immortal. It was reasonable to fight him with respect. Chi. 17 Essence Immortal Nomological Laws appeared in front of Ning Yu and made a sizzling sound. So many Essence Immortal Laws. Ning Yu actually has 17 Essence Immortal Laws. Could it be that Ning Yu's cultivation level is at the peak of the Essence Immortal realm? You're all wrong. Ning Yu is not at the peak of the Essence Immortal realm. He's not even an Essence Immortal. He's a half-step Essence Immortal. Whoosh! The last martial artist's words caused everyone to be shocked. Half-step Essence Immortal cultivation level and 17 Essence Immortal Laws. Freak? Genius? Genius? Reincarnation of an expert? All sorts of speculations appeared. Ning Yu is angry. Among the core disciples, Song Qing had a solemn expression. After interacting with Ning Yu for so long, Song Qing basically understood Ning Yu's behavior. Once Ning Yu used the Essence Immortal Laws and the bloodline of the god of War Body, it meant that Ning Yu was completely enraged. Next. Chapter 2204. Boom! Under everyone's watchful eyes, Ning Yu's fist collided with Xiao Ye's. Bang! The two collided. What everyone expected did not happen. On the contrary, after Ning Yu and Xiao Ye's fists collided, they did not separate immediately. Instead, they competed with each other's strength. Xiao Yi had not hesitated to burn his blood essence and life force for this punch. It was extremely powerful. Even though Ning Yu had used 17 essence, immortal nomological laws, and the bloodline of the war god, he could not defeat Xiao Yi easily. It was not that Ning Yu could not defeat Xiao Yi. As long as he used the sealed energy in his body, defeating Xiao Yi would be a piece of cake. Ning Yu felt that using the sealed energy in his body to defeat Xiao Yi was not worth it. After all, he could rely on the sealed energy in his body to fight peerless immortals. Once he lost the energy, his strength would drop to the level of a half-step peerless immortal. Ning Yu felt that it was not worth it to expend so much energy to defeat Xiao Yi as soon as possible. They're evenly matched. What do you mean by evenly matched? In my opinion, Ning Yu and Xiao Yi are stronger. Why do you say that? A warrior asked doubtfully. Are you stupid? Ning Yu used 17 essence, immortal nomological laws, but Xiao Yi did not even use one, the warrior from earlier explained. Think about it. If Xiao Yi uses his essence immortal laws, how is Ning Yu going to block it? At first glance, what you said seems to make sense. Everyone frowned, feeling that the warrior's words were not without reason. However, only Song Qing knew. Even if Xiao Yi used his essence immortal laws, he would definitely not be a match for Ning Yu, because Ning Yu had not used his full strength. Song Qing was not the only one who thought so. All the core disciples thought so too. The scene of Ning Yu and Xiao Yi devouring each other's energy in the water-moon pool was still fresh in their minds. Ning Yu had not used the energy in his body since the beginning of the fight. Therefore, it was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Seeing that he was unable to defeat Ning Yu, Xiao Yi raised his head and shouted. Then, he burned his life force once more. Don't waste your energy. You're no match for me. Seeing Xiao Yi burning his life force, Ning Yu shook his head and exerted a little more strength in his fist. Gotcha! In an instant, Xiao Yi's fist was broken, and his body was sent flying. Bang! Xiao Yi only managed to stabilize his body after crashing into the wall behind him. Pucci! He spat out a mouthful of blood. The light in Xiao Yi's eyes dimmed. Even though he was extremely unwilling, Xiao Yi knew that he was no match for Ning Yu. The other core disciples all knew that Ning Yu had a terrifying energy within his body. So how could he not know? Go and rest first. At this moment, Water Moon Fairy waved her sleeves, and a gentle wind carried Xiao Yi away from the selection hall. Many cultivators watched as Xiao Yi left, their expressions filled with shock, because they knew very well Xiao Yi's departure meant that Ning Yu had become Water Moon Alliance's #1 core disciple. The selection continues. Xiao Yi's departure didn't have much of an impact. Water Moon Fairy said indifferently, Zheng Jiqiang will host the next selection. Swoosh! As she spoke, Water Moon Fairy tore open the void and went in. Obviously, Water Moon Fairy went to talk to Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was Water Moon Alliance's core disciple, a genius that Water Moon Fairy had nurtured for many years. The brilliant Void Conference was about to begin. If Xiao Yi was affected too much, it would be a great loss to Water Moon Alliance. Swoosh! After Water Moon Fairy left, the selection suddenly became dull and boring. The passion disappeared without a trace. In just a few hours, the selection was completely over. Ning Yu, Song Qing, Sun Xiao, Fei Yuan, Wang Lan. The 5 of them would represent Water Moon Alliance in the brilliant Void Conference. First of all, congratulations. Tomorrow, you will represent Water Moon Alliance in the brilliant Void Conference. Zheng Jiqiang looked around at Ning Yu and the rest and said in a deep voice, but before that, I need to remind you of a few things. Ning Yu and the rest listened attentively. First, Zheng Jiqiang stretched out a finger and said, the brilliant Void Conference this time is of great importance, so you need to do everything possible to win. What do you mean by do everything possible? Sun Xiao asked. That's a good question. Zheng Jiqiang glanced at Sun Xiao and explained, by doing everything possible, I mean doing everything possible, including killing the other party's members. Gasp! Sun Xiao gasped when he heard Zheng Jiqiang's words. kill the other party's members? One had to know that in the previous brilliant void meet, although there was also a spar segment, everyone sparred peacefully and there were very few casualties. However, Zheng Jiqiang seemed to be saying that the goal of this brilliant void conference was to kill the other party. I'll say the ugly words first. Zheng Jiqiang seemed to have seen through Sun Xiao's doubts and said in a deep voice, "When the time comes, if you don't kill the other party will definitely kill you. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself." All right, the serious matters are over. What you need to do next is to advance to the essence immortal realm before tomorrow. Zheng Jiqiang waved his hand and said, "The 5 of you, follow me." Russell, Ningyu, Song Qing, and the rest followed closely behind Zheng Jiqiang. Soon, Zheng Jiqiang stopped in front of the secret chamber. Sun Xiao, cultivate in this secret chamber. Zheng Jiqiang pointed at the secret chamber and said, "Come out on time tomorrow morning." Next, Zheng Jiqiang brought Song Qing, Fei Yuan, and Wang Lan to a secret chamber and asked them to cultivate. Ningyu did not ask. That was because Ningyu knew that Zheng Jiqiang would definitely take the initiative to tell them without him asking. As expected, after making arrangements for Sun Xiao and the rest, Zheng Jiqiang turned to look at Ningyu and said, "Your cultivation level is half-step essence immortal, and it will be difficult for you to break through to the essence immortal realm in a short period of time. Therefore, the Alliance Master has decided to give you a big gift." What gift? Ningyu was a little curious. In his opinion, the simulated lightning pool in the water moon pool was the best gift. There were 10 essence immortal nomological laws inside, which increased his strength by several times. The Alliance Master has decided to let you use her fan. Zheng Jiqiang made a grabbing motion with his right hand. The void cracked and a light blue fan appeared in front of Ningyu. This fan, Ningyu's pupils constricted when he saw the fan in front of him. He was a little shocked. Judging from the quality of the fan, it should not be an ancestral artifact or an ingot. It was a Dharma treasure of the peerless, immortal level. This fan is called the Water Moon Fan. The Alliance Master has been carrying it with her ever since the Water Moon Alliance was established. Zheng Jiqiang pointed at the blue fan and explained, before she left just now, she personally told you to accept this fan no matter what. I'd like to ask, does it mean that I'll become the next leader of the Water Moon Alliance if I accept this fan? Chapter 2205. That's right. Zheng Jiqiang nodded and said, after the brilliant void meet tomorrow, she will resign from the position of the chief of the Water Moon Alliance regardless of whether she can win the position. Xiao Yu is supposed to take over as the second chief of the Water Moon Alliance. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi is indifferent to fame and fortune and doesn't want the position. When Ningyu and Xiao Yi were sparring just now, Zheng Jiqiang didn't come in. Hence, he didn't know much about Xiao Ye's ugly side. To be honest, Zheng Jiqiang was also very puzzled as to why Xiao Yi wasn't among the 5 names. However, Zheng Jiqiang believed in Shuei Fairy's decision, so he didn't ask. All right, I can't resist this temptation. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and reached out with his right hand to grab the Water Moon Fan in front of him. If not for the temptation of the Water Moon Fan, Ningyu really wouldn't agree to be the chief of the Water Moon Alliance. After all, his main task now was to cultivate and not participate in the power struggle. Ha! In an instant, Ningyu grabbed the Water Moon Fan. Boom! As soon as he held the Water Moon Fan, Ningyu felt a terrifying energy drilling into his body. Stop! Ningyu's expression changed drastically. The energy in his body had reached its limit. If more energy entered his body now, it was very likely that his body would explode. Hence, Ningyu hurriedly used a spell to stop the violent energy from entering his body. However, no matter how hard Ningyu tried, he couldn't stop the energy from drilling into his body. Damn it! At this critical moment, Ningyu cursed and had no choice but to use the essence immortal laws. However, it was a pity. Even though Ningyu used the essence immortal laws, he still couldn't stop the energy from entering his body. Beside him, Zheng Jiqiang looked at Ning Yu's anxious expression and didn't help him. In fact, Zheng Jiqiang crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ning Yu with interest. No, there must be something wrong. Seeing Zheng Jiqiang's expression, Ning Yu instantly understood. Water Moon Fairy would not make things difficult for him for no reason. Since Water Moon Fairy had given him the Water Moon fan, there must be a deeper meaning behind it. Ning Yu took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. In the face of danger, the more nervous you are, the more likely you will fall into a vicious circle. Sitting cross-legged, Ning Yu operated his mental cultivation method and began to guide the Water Moon fan's energy into his body. Very good. Seeing Ning Yu's calm appearance, Zheng Jiqiang could not help but nod his head and praise him. Whoever could subdue the Water Moon fan would be the next leader of the Water Moon Alliance. Water Moon Fairy had personally instructed him not to help Ning Yu unless it was absolutely necessary. Therefore, even when he saw how anxious Ning Yu was, Zheng Jiqiang still did not step forward to help. Although he had calmed down, for Ning Yu, the condition of his body had not improved at all. Moreover, as the energy continued to flow into his body began to swell. As long as his body expanded to a certain limit, what awaited him would be self-destruction. Something must have gone wrong. Ning Yu took a deep breath and his eyes darted around rapidly, thinking of a solution. Zheng Jiqiang's gaze was fixed on Ning Yu. Once Ning Yu's body expanded to a critical point, he would help Ning Yu. And if he helped, it would mean that Ning Yu would lose the position of the Alliance leader and the opportunity to subdue the Water Moon fan. Drip, drip. Time continued to pass. Ning Yu's body was also constantly expanding. Right. A few minutes later, seeing that Ning Yu's body was about to expand to its limit, Ning Yu suddenly slapped his head and shouted, "Compress!" Ning Yu shouted in a low voice. His soul power surged and began to compress the energy in his body with the 17 essence immortal laws. Ning Yu divided the energy in his body into 17 parts. Each of the 17 essence immortal laws in his body was responsible for a portion of the energy. Oh, Zheng Jiqiang was already prepared to make a move. Who would have thought that Ning Yu would stabilize again? Zheng Jiqiang did not expect such a situation to occur. One had to know, previously, there were people who tried to subdue the Water Moon fan, but without exception, everyone ended up in failure. Even Zheng Jiqiang himself had tried to subdue the Water Moon fan. Unfortunately, even he didn't succeed. That was why Zheng Jiqiang was shocked when he saw Ning Yu gradually stabilize. Let's wait and see. Zheng Jiqiang released his palm and thought to himself. As long as Ning Yu's life was not in danger, he could not stop Ning Yu. He was very clear about that. If it was because of him that Ning Yu failed to subdue the Water Moon fan, and Water Moon Fairy knew about it, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Chi! Ning Yu did not know what Zheng Jiqiang was thinking. For Ning Yu, he had found the right method. Each of the 17 essence immortal laws worked with his soul power to compress the energy. In just a few hours, Ning Yu had completely compressed the energy in his body. In other words, there were a total of 17 vigorous energies in Ning Yu's body now. Every wisp of energy could easily defeat a half-step peerless immortal. Of course, if Ning Yu wanted to fight a peerless immortal, he needed to use all 17 of them at the same time. Otherwise, he could only run or suffer in the face of a peerless immortal's attack. At that moment, the Water Moon fan went crazy again. Endless energy entered Ning Yu's body like crazy. Good. This time, Ning Yu was not angry. Instead, he was ecstatic. The more energy he had, the better it was for him. Compress. Ning Yu controlled the 17 essence immortal laws and began the process of compression again. In the following period of time, Zheng Jiqiang was highly focused, keeping an eye on Ning Yu, afraid that something would happen to Ning Yu. Ning Yu, on the other hand, continued to compress the energy. As for the Water Moon fan, it was like an inexhaustible source of energy, constantly sending energy into Ningyu's body. Drip. Time passed by quickly. Whoosh. When the next morning arrived, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and slowly spat out a mouthful of turbid air. After a night of compression, each of the 17 strands of energy in Ningyu's body could easily kill an early-stage, peerless, immortal cultivator on their own. The water moon fan is really something, Ningyu thought to himself as he toyed with the fan that had been sucked dry. Now, Ningyu finally understood the fan's function. The water moon fan was no ordinary peerless immortal treasure, but an immortal meridian energy treasure. An immortal meridian energy treasure could absorb energy from an immortal meridian and convert it into pure energy that could be freely consumed by cultivators. When they appeared, the people in the square parted to make a path for them. Zhang Jiqiang led the way, followed closely by Ningyu, Song Qing, Sun Xiao, Wang Lan, and Fei Yuan. Whoosh! Just as Ningyu and the others arrived, 6 other martial artists also rushed over from the other side. Su Ming. Among these 6 people, Ningyu knew one of them. Kill the Gods Alliance's Su Ming. Whoosh! Meanwhile, in another direction, 6 martial artists appeared. Ningyu's gaze quickly shifted from Su Ming. Ningyu realized that the combat power of these 6 people was obviously much stronger than that of the God-Slaying Alliance. In terms of cultivation level, among the God-Slaying Alliance, Su Ming was the strongest, a mid-stage virtual immortal. And among these 6 people, the one with the highest cultivation level was a terrifying late-stage virtual immortal. He's Jiang from the Gods Alliance. He followed Ningyu's gaze. Then, Song Qing said, he's the strongest competitor in this brilliant void meeting. Ningyu nodded in agreement. He Jiang, who was a late-stage virtual immortal, was much stronger than Xiao Yi. If he had not devoured the energy in the water moon fan, Ningyu might have been afraid of He Jiang. But now, he did not have any feelings for He Jiang. As if noticing that Ningyu was looking at him with an indifferent expression, He Jiang let out a cold snort from his nose. Who is he? He Jiang turned and asked. He's a core disciple of the Water Moon Alliance, Ningyu. He just joined the Alliance a month ago. The leader of the Gods Alliance, Elder Wu Changrun, explained, rumor has it that his strength is on par with Su Ming's. Su Ming is just sloppy. The God-Slaying Alliance is likely to be the first to be eliminated in this brilliant void meeting. He Jiang said plainly. The Water Moon Alliance, on the other hand, surprised me. Xiao Yi didn't come, but they let a half-step virtual immortal become their leader. He Jiang saw it clearly. Among the core disciples of the Water Moon Alliance, Ningyu was ranked first, and Song Qing was second. He Jiang had always wanted to spar with Xiao Yi, but it seemed like he was going to be disappointed. Don't be careless, Wu Changren reminded. Ningyu being able to become the leader of the Water Moon Union means that he has obtained the Water Moon Fairy's recognition. With the Water Moon Fairy's judgment of people, she will definitely not be wrong. Swoosh! When Wu Changrun mentioned the Water Moon Fairy, He Jiang's expression turned serious. He Jiang had always been brooding over the Water Moon Fairy, because the Water Moon Fairy had evaluated him. For words, sloppy and ordinary. He originally wanted to join the Water Moon Alliance, but because of the evaluation of the Water Moon Fairy, he turned around and joined the Gods Alliance. His cultivation rose steadily and reached the late-stage virtual immortal realm. He was a level higher than Xiao Yi, whom the Water Moon Fairy thought highly of. Let's go and take a look. He Jiang took a deep breath and walked toward Ningyu. Interesting. Not far away. Seeing He Jiang's action, Su Ming's lips curled up and he followed. Russell. Not long after, He Jiang came to stand in front of Ningyu. You Ningyu? He Jiang raised his eyebrows and looked at Ningyu condescendingly. I have a few questions to ask you. As long as you answer them honestly, I can show mercy and spare your life. Swoosh! He Jiang's words immediately drew the gazes of the surrounding people to his side. To be precise, everyone shifted their gaze to Ningyu. because everyone wanted to see how capable Ningyu, who had replaced Xiao Yi as the chief core disciple of the Watermoon Alliance, was. Facing He Jiang's provocation, Ningyu continued to move forward as if he did not hear it. However, at this moment, He Jiang was already standing in front of Ningyu, blocking Ningyu's path. Helpless, Ningyu could only choose to stop. A good dog doesn't block the way. Ningyu's expression was indifferent. It's not a good dog to block the way. What did you say? He Jiang's pupils were weak, and he was on the verge of exploding. Ningyu had the guts to call him a dog? He Jiang secretly made up his mind. Chapter 2207. A dog will always be a dog, always barking. Ningyu shrugged and said faintly, I've met many dogs, but this is the first time I've seen a deaf dog like you. Uffed. Su Ming couldn't help but laugh when he heard Ningyu's mockery. Halfway through his laughter, Su Ming stopped abruptly. He recalled what happened at the Shuiyu restaurant a month ago. Back then, Ningyu had affectionately called him a dog. Crack, crack, crack. Why had He Jiang ever been bullied like that? He clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. Very well, you've successfully angered me. He Jiang stared coldly at Ningyu. Kneel and apologize to me, or I'll show you why flowers are so red. Noisy, Ningyu glanced at He Jiang and said, If we weren't here, I would have killed you already. Ningyu is no fool. Ever since he and He Jiang clashed, everyone's attention in the loft had been drawn to them. Several auras moved around his body unscrupulously. Two of them were filled with deep hostility. As expected, the two auras belonged to the Alliance Masters of the Gods Alliance and the God-Killing Alliance. If he killed He Jiang now, it would be troublesome. The Watermoon Alliance might even lose its right to participate in the brilliant Void Conference. After all, the Watermoon Fairy had given Ningyu a lot of benefits. Ningyu didn't want to ruin the brilliant Void Conference. Arrogant, He Jiang stomped his feet and appeared before Ningyu in an instant. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at Ningyu's face with a violent gust of immortal energy. Since Ningyu had the upper hand in terms of words, He Jiang had to get back at him in terms of martial arts. He Jiang and Ningyu are fighting. I wonder who'll win. Isn't that obvious? It must be He Jiang. His cultivation level has already reached the late-stage, primordial immortal stage. I also guessed it was He Jiang. Rumor has it that he once killed an early, peerless immortal. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard the last warrior's words. Killed an early-stage, peerless immortal? This achievement alone had already caused a huge uproar. Peerless immortals were a scarce resource, even in the Kungsu Alliance. Of the 36 cultivators in the pavilion, the weakest was a peak virtual immortal, but only a handful were peerless immortals. Most genius cultivators could only raise their cultivation to half-step peerless immortal in their entire lives, unable to cross that threshold. Be careful, Song Qing hurriedly reminded He Jiang when he saw He Jiang make a move. Song Qing feared He Jiang from the bottom of his heart. He had fought He Jiang before, but it was a pity. At that time, He Jiang had only used 30% of his strength and easily defeated him. After such a long time, He Jiang's strength must have increased. If Ningyu insisted on clashing with He Jiang, it was hard to tell who would win. How troublesome. Facing He Jiang, who was charging at him, Ningyu discreetly used a wisp of energy in his body. Every time he used 17 wisps of energy, Ningyu's heart bled. However, He Jiang had already lost his mind. His first move was so powerful that even a peerless immortal might not be able to withstand it. Therefore, Ningyu had to use his energy. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing if he lost to He Jiang? Ha! Inside the pavilion, crazed God chuckled. Goddess Shuiyu, let's not get involved in the sparring between the younger generation. That's right. I'm looking forward to the sparring between Ningyu and He Jiang. God-slaying nodded. When He Jiang and Ningyu are done, I'll have Su Ming try. Swoosh. Goddess Shuiyu didn't show it, but she was on the verge of exploding. Crazed God and God-slaying were ganging up on her, which infuriated her. Since it's a sparring match, why don't we add some stakes? Furious, Goddess Shueiyue seemed to have lost her mind. There are three outcomes. First, Ningyu wins. Second, he loses. Third, it's a draw. You can choose one of the three outcomes. If you win, I'll give you a peerless immortal treasure. As she spoke, Watermoon Fairy took out a flying sword from her bosom. It was silvery white in color, with 3 golden characters carved on its hilt. Lifeless sword. It was called the Lifeless Sword. Are you serious? Crazed God and God-slaying paled. The Lifeless Sword was a supreme treasure. If they could get their hands on it, their overall strength would increase by 10%. 10% was not to be underestimated. In a fight between the strong, victory or defeat was decided in an instant. Every time one's strength increased, one's chances of winning against an enemy would increase. Of course, Goddess Shueiyue nodded, then asked in return, "But what if you lose? We'll give you a peerless immortal treasure as well." Crazed God and God-slaying son looked at each other, seeing the fervor in each other's eyes. In their eyes, the lifeless sword was already theirs. What they needed to worry about now was how to split the sword. After all, there was only one flying sword, while they had 2. "Since you're so interested, I'll be the judge for you." Just then, an ethereal voice rang in Crazed God, true immortal, in the other's ears. Hearing this, Crazed God and the others paled. The leader of the Kung-Su Alliance. The speaker was none other than the leader of the Kung-Su Alliance. It's obvious that Ningyu will lose to He Jiang. With the leader as the judge, Crazed God wasn't afraid that Goddess Shueiyue would go back on her word. "I agree with Crazed God. Ningyu will lose without a doubt." God-slaying son echoed. Both of them had a very high opinion of He Jiang. Although He Jiang was only an early-stage virtual immortal, his overall strength should be enough to kill a peerless immortal. But what about Ningyu? How strong could a half-step virtual immortal be? No matter how strong he was, he couldn't kill a peerless immortal. Could he? Even the leader of the Kung-Su Alliance, known as the #1 genius, couldn't fight a peerless immortal when he was a half-step virtual immortal. There's a way out for you, but you're barging into hell instead. When He Jiang saw that Ningyu advanced instead of retreating and actually wanted to exchange blows with him, He Jiang was instantly infuriated. He wanted to teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know that there was always someone better out there. Whoosh! To defeat Ningyu in one move, He Jiang increased the power of this move again. He'd used 50% of his strength before, but now he'd increased it to 70%. Not enough. With a cold expression, He Jiang increased his power again. In a mere second, He Jiang increased the power of his move from 50% to 100%. Let's see how you block it. Chapter 22:08. Crack. The two forces collided. An extremely crisp sound rang out. Soon after, He Jiang of the Gods Alliance was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Uffed. He Jiang spat out a mouthful of blood, and his late primordial immortal aura instantly dropped to the early primordial immortal stage. Moreover, it continued to drop. Bang! 3 seconds later, He Jiang's aura had dropped from the early primordial immortal stage to the early ancestral immortal stage. On the other hand, Ningyu, he stood firmly on the spot. Shaking his slightly painful fist, Ningyu said faintly, "Since you want to kneel, I will fulfill your wish." As soon as he said the word "you," a terrifying aura exuded from Ningyu's body and pressed down on He Jiang crazily. Crack! Under the pressure of Ningyu's aura, He Jiang's knees made cracking sounds, and he was about to kneel down. Swoosh! Swoosh! Seeing that He Jiang was about to kneel, the 4 core disciples of the Gods Alliance, and even the team leader, old Wu Changren, quickly stopped him. After all, He Jiang was the chief core disciple of the Gods Alliance. If he knelt here, he would not only lose his face, but also the face of the entire Gods Alliance. Therefore, no matter what, Wu Changren and the others could not let He Jiang kneel. Seeing that Wu Changren and the others had made a move, Ningyu snorted and said in a deep voice, "I said to make him kneel, and I will make him kneel. No one can stop me. Rumble. With a cold snort, Ning Yu's aura soared again. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In an instant, 5 terrifying auras were released, attacking Wu Changrun and the others respectively. What is Ning Yu trying to do? Don't tell me he's lost his mind? You actually want to fight 1 against 5 for core disciples of the Gods Alliance and an elder leading the team. Wrong. A rational martial artist analyzed. Ning Yu is not fighting against 5, but against 6. You can't forget He Jiang, right? This is too much. Wu Changrun was so angry that his nose was crooked. He helped He Jiang because he didn't want He Jiang to kneel down. However, Ning Yu was unforgiving and actually used his aura to oppress him, which made him very angry. The enraged Wu Changrun decided to teach Ning Yu a lesson. You forced me to do this. With a cold shout, Wu Changrun gave up on protecting He Jiang and charged at Ning Yu. Be careful. Seeing Wu Changrun make a move, Song Qing and Zheng Jiqiang hurriedly warned him. Although Wu Changrun was only a late-stage primordial immortal, he had many trump cards. Rumor had it that Wu Changrun had once killed a peerless immortal. Stop. However, before Wu Changrun arrived in front of Ning Yu, a cold and gloomy voice resounded in the Heavenly Star Plaza. Aren't you ashamed? Boom! Hearing this voice, Wu Changrun hurriedly stopped. The martial artist who spoke was none other than the Alliance Master of the Gods Union, true monarch Kuang Shun. If someone else had spoken up to stop Wu Changrun, he would have had to think twice. However, Wu Changrun had no choice but to obey true monarch Kuang Shun's words. Swoosh! Ning Yu was not stupid. Since the Alliance Master of the Gods Union had spoken, he naturally would not continue to pester him. With a thought, several terrifying auras retracted back into his body. Whoosh! Feeling Ning Yu withdraw his aura, the 4 core disciples of the Gods Union all heaved a sigh of relief. The pressure that Ning Yu had given them was too great. They could have predicted it. If true monarch Kuang Shun had not stopped him, all 4 of them would have knelt down today. A peerless, immortal artifact. Inside the pavilion, Aquamoon Fairy stretched out her right hand and said to true monarch Kuang Shun and son of God Slaying, 1 each. Don't try to go back on your word. Oof. How can we go back on our word? Both true monarch Kuang Shun and son of God Slaying snorted at the same time. Then each took out a flying sword and threw it to Aquamoon Fairy. Although they looked calm, that was not the case. Their hearts were bleeding, even they did not have many peerless immortal artifacts. They would not be willing to hand them over to Aquamoon Fairy. Many thanks. Catching the 2 peerless immortal flying swords, Aquamoon Fairy removed the seals on them and tossed them to Ning Yu on Skystar Plaza with a flick of her wrist. Skystar Plaza. Ning Yu was a little dazed. He had only defeated He Jiang. Why would Aquamoon Fairy give him 2 peerless immortal flying swords? However, Aquamoon Fairy's next words cleared up Ning Yu's confusion. These 2 flying swords belonged to true monarch Kuang Shun and son of God Slaying. They lost the bet because of you, so you deserve these 2 flying swords. Realization finally dawned on Ning Yu after Aquamoon Fairy's explanation. True monarch Kuang Shun and son of God Slaying didn't think he would win, so they made the bet with Aquamoon Fairy. Shaking his head, Ning Yu threw the 2 peerless, immortal flying swords into the Red Demon Sword. Ning Yu had only brought the Red Demon to Skystar Plaza for the brilliant Void Meat. The Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the others continued cultivating at the Watermoon Alliance. Recently, the Red Demon had been complaining that Ning Yu didn't find any artifacts or energy for him. With 2 peerless, immortal flying swords, the Red Demon might be able to break through to the essence immortal level. What the F***CK? Inside the Red Demon Sword, the Red Fiend immediately cursed. 2 peerless immortal flying swords? The Red Demon would never have thought of this before. Ning Yu, did you rob the brilliant Void Alliance headquarters? The Red Demon couldn't help but ask. To be honest, the Red Demon was really afraid that Ning Yu would do something stupid. After all, Peerless immortal artifacts were very precious. Every one of them could cause a huge uproar. Cut the crap and hurry up with the devouring. Tell me, how long will it take you to completely devour these two flying swords? Ningyu rolled his eyes and asked. Half an hour. The red demon patted his chest and promised. I've been bored to death. Give me half an hour, and I promise I can upgrade the red demon sword to the level of an ingot, or even peerless immortal. All right, stop bragging. Ningyu hurriedly interrupted the red demon's bragging. Devouring two peerless immortal flying swords could upgrade the red demon's sword to the level of a supreme treasure? Who the hell were you kidding? Since everyone is here, let me briefly explain the rules of the brilliant void meat. At this moment, a powerful voice resounded above the heavenly star square. Obviously, the speaker was the leader of the brilliant void alliance. The rules are simple. The major alliances are the units. The leader announced, there are 3 arenas on the plaza. The Gods Alliance, the God-Slaying Alliance, and the Water Moon Alliance will each send 5 disciples to guard the arenas. The other alliances can challenge them. The victorious alliance can continue, but the defeated alliance will disband on the spot. There is no time limit for this challenge. It will continue until no alliance is willing to challenge us. Chapter 2209. Voila! The Chief Alliance Master's words instantly caused a great uproar in the Heavenly Star Plaza. Challenge the Gods Alliance, kill the Gods Alliance, and Water Moon Alliance? In the Kuan Su Alliance, these 3 major alliances were undoubtedly the overlords. With the Big Alliance as a unit, the chances of them winning were close to 0. As the saying goes, there are policies from above and countermeasures from below. The alliances at the bottom of the rankings all started to discuss the merger. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that none of the great alliances could win against the Gods Alliance alone. However, one alliance couldn't win, but that didn't mean 2 couldn't win. It didn't mean 3 couldn't win. While these alliances were discussing, Ningyu and Song Qing had already arrived on the stage. Before he came, Zhang Jiqiang had already briefly explained the rules of the convention. At first, it was the Great Alliance's challenge. The 3 alliances that emerged victorious in the end would then engage in a civil war. As for the challenge, Ningyu wasn't too worried. Even if he didn't make a move, just relying on Song Qing, Sun Xiao, and the others would still be able to defend the ring. I'll leave it to you. Ningyu waved his hand at Song Qing, then walked to the edge of the arena and sat down cross-legged. The battle with He Jiang had consumed 2 streams of energy in his body. Previously, he had 17 strands of energy in his body. Now, there were only 15 left. Moreover, it looked like Ningyu had won easily, but that was not the case. After all, He Jiang was the chief core disciple of the Gods Union. The huge recoil from the battle just now had caused some internal injuries to Ningyu's body. Fortunately, the first round was the Alliance Challenge, giving Ningyu enough time to rest. If they were to start a friendly match between the 3 major alliances, the Divine Alliance would be the one to benefit from it. Perhaps all the martial artists in the Heavenly Star Plaza thought that He Jiang was the strongest, but Ningyu knew very well that the Killing God Union's Su Ming was much stronger than He Jiang. 2 He Jiangs might not even be a match for 1 He Jiang. Xiao. Ningyu had just sat down cross-legged when he felt a gaze lock onto him. With a slight frown, Ningyu turned around to look. Su Ming. In another arena, Su Ming glared at Ningyu. Wash your neck and wait. You will die soon. Su Ming spoke to Ningyu, his mouth slightly agape. There are many people who can kill me, but unfortunately, you are still lacking. Ningyu shrugged and replied. The Water Moon League will definitely be able to withstand the challenge from the Major League Alliance. However, I reckon that it will be a little difficult for you to kill the Divine League. Humph. The Killing God Alliance has as many experts as there are clouds in the sky. I don't even need to do anything to... Su Ming snorted. However, before Su Ming could finish his snort, his expression changed drastically. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. A core disciple of the god-slaying union had been thrown off the stage. Poochie. Fresh blood spurted from his mouth. This core disciple of the god-killing union died tragically on the spot. Walla. The death of the god-slaying alliance's disciple caused the expressions of the onlookers to change. Everyone's gaze shifted to the thin martial artist in the ring. Who the hell is he? How dare he challenge the god-slaying union and kill a core disciple? Crack. Inside the loft, the killing god's son slammed the chair beneath him with his right hand. The huge force shattered the chair into pieces. It's just a spar. Casualties are unavoidable. Brother killing god, why are you so angry? True Lord Mad God, who was next to the killing god's son, smiled and said, the god-slaying union has Su Ming overseeing it. I'm sure you can turn the tide and kill that rascal. Humph. The killing god's son snorted, but did not speak. The killing god's son suspected that someone was behind this. The 5 core disciples of the god-slaying union were all carefully selected by him. Each of them could hold their own. Even if they encountered a heavenly demon at the peak of the essence immortal realm, they would be able to put up a fight and would not be defeated so quickly. But now, the thin figure in the ring killed the core disciple he had selected with one move. Could it be someone prepared by true Lord Mad God? The killing god's son frowned. In his opinion, there were only 4 people in the entire Kuan-Su alliance who could train a thin warrior. He, true Lord Mad God, Water Moon Fairy, and the alliance master of the Kuan-Su alliance. The alliance master would not do something so stupid. The most suspicious ones were Crazed God, True Immortal, and Shueihua Fairy. However, the Water Moon Alliance already had 2 freaks, Xiao Yi and Ningyu. The killing god's son did not believe that Water Moon Fairy had extra resources to train geniuses. It seemed that true Lord Mad God was the most suspicious. You're asking for it. In the ring, seeing that his companion was killed, a core disciple in blue from the god-slaying union shouted and rushed out. Su Ming opened his mouth and wanted to stop him, but he chose to shut up in the end. When the core disciple was killed, Su Ming was talking to Ningyu, so he did not notice the specific situation. This was a good opportunity to observe the thin warrior's strength. Su Ming had his reasons for not stopping him. In an instant, the blue-clothed core disciple of the Killing God Union arrived in front of the skinny martial artist and punched the skinny martial artist's head. Facing the incoming fist, the thin warrior's expression was calm. He clenched his right fist and punched out. Crack! There was no doubt. The god-slaying Union core disciple was defeated on the spot. When exchanging pointers with a thin and weak cultivator, losing would only result in death. Swoosh! The skinny martial artist stomped on the ground and rushed out. Bang! Bang! It only took 3 seconds. Apart from Su Ming, the remaining core disciples of the god-slaying union were all killed. Can't even withstand a single blow. The thin warrior raised an eyebrow at Su Ming. I hope you won't disappoint me. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Su Ming took a deep breath, and his expression became extremely grave. Su Ming's first impression of the thin warrior was that he was strong. His second impression was that he was extremely strong. But no matter how strong the thin warrior was, Su Ming had to bite the bullet. Of the 5 core disciples of the god-slaying union, he was the only one left. If he didn't go, wouldn't it mean that the god-slaying union would be eliminated? In another arena, Ningyu stared at the skinny cultivator with a frown on his face. What's wrong? Song Qing was puzzled. I think I've seen him somewhere. Ningyu said, as for where exactly, I can't remember. The Kuan-Su alliance has many powerhouses and geniuses. He should be nurtured by a small alliance. Song Qing explained. The Kuan-Su alliance had many large and small alliances, as well as many large sections. With more people, there would definitely be geniuses. But the combat power displayed by the emaciated martial artist truly shocked Song Qing. Song Qing had thought about it. If it was him, he might not be able to block one move from the thin warrior. No. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed, and he said in a low voice, I know where I've seen him. The reason why Ningyu was shocked was because he had guessed the identity of the thin martial artist. Heavenly demon. That's right. The thin warrior was a heavenly demon. Chapter 22:10. Swoosh. Ningyu's expression turned grave. The arrival of Di Wentian's clone meant that the celestial demon army had begun to invade Sky Star City. Shifting his gaze, Ningyu began to observe his surroundings. After observing for a while, Ningyu withdrew his gaze. Just as he'd thought, he'd noticed several suspicious auras in the Heavenly Star Plaza. Without a doubt, 80% of those presences belonged to celestial demons. Where did you see him? Song Qing asked. Ningyu had seen Di Wentian's clone, but Song Qing hadn't. Therefore, Song Qing was a little confused. He had no idea what Ningyu was talking about. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said in a low voice, "That thin cultivator in the arena is a celestial demon, and he has a high status among them." Boom! Song Qing exploded when he heard Ning Yu's explanation. Celestial demon? If he didn't know Ning Yu's character, Song Qing would have thought Ning Yu was joking. After all, this was Sky Star City, and the Brilliant Void Alliance's higher-ups were in the pavilion. Leaving aside the Brilliant Void Alliance's leader, True Lord Craze God of the Gods Alliance, the God-slaying son of the Gods Alliance, and the Water Moon Fairy of the Water Moon Alliance were all peerless immortals. With peerless immortals around, why would a thin cultivator dare come? No matter how strong the thin cultivator was, his cultivation couldn't reach the peerless immortal realm. Ningyu didn't explain when he saw Song Qing's puzzled gaze. Ningyu knew it was pointless no matter how much he tried to explain. Russell. All of a sudden, Ningyu's expression changed, and he looked away from Su Ming's arena. This was because a young martial artist dressed in white had leaped up and landed on the arena he was on. Zhu Minghai, challenged the Water Moon Alliance. The cultivator in white extended his right hand and pointed at Ningyu and Song Qing. To save time, all of you can come at me together. Swoosh! Zhu Minghai's words caused a stir in the surroundings. The climax of the Brilliant Void meeting came one after another. First, a skinny martial artist challenged the Killing God Alliance and instantly killed 4 Killing God Alliance core disciples. Now, there was another white-robed cultivator challenging the Water Moon Union. Furthermore, he did not care about the Water Moon Union at all. He wanted the Water Moon Union's core disciples to attack together. Whoosh! In an instant, everyone shifted their gaze towards the Gods Alliance. Bang! He didn't disappoint everyone. A bald martial artist leaped onto the stage where the Gods Union was located. In my opinion, there isn't a single person in your Gods Alliance who can fight. The corners of the bald martial artist's mouth curled up as he said, disdainfully, "To be able to force out 30% of my strength, you guys are quite capable. Arrogant. Arrogant. I alone am enough to deal with you." Swish, 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 swish. Provoked by the bald cultivator, the core disciples of the Gods Union roared. Even apart from He Jiang, the other 4 core disciples also charged out. Bang, 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 bang. The facts proved that the bald martial artist was not boasting. Facing the 4 core disciples who were dashing towards him, he waved his right hand in the air, and in a split second, 4 rays of cold light shot out. The cold radiance collided with the core disciple of the Gods Union. 4 crisp sounds resounded in the air. The 4 core disciples of the Gods Union were immediately thrown off the stage and hit the ground like dead dogs. The 4 core disciples could only exhale but not inhale. Rumble. This sudden change made those who wanted to ridicule the bald martial artist shut their mouths. The bald martial artist was right. He did not need to use his full strength to deal with the core disciples of the Gods Union. Now, it seemed that even 30% of his strength was a little too much. Because not long ago, Ningyu easily defeated He Jiang, causing He Jiang to lose a lot of confidence. Would He Jiang dare to fight with the bald martial artist again? Whoosh! It was as if he wanted to slap the onlookers' faces. He Jiang's feet stepped on the ground, and his body suddenly rushed out. He Jiang held his breath in his heart. Not long ago, when he was defeated by Ningyu, he thought that it was because he was careless. Now that he was being ridiculed by the bald martial artist, he naturally had to go all out and fight back. Crack. However, today was destined to be a tragic day for He Jiang. One move. With just one move, he was defeated by the bald martial artist. Uffed. He Jiang spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura instantly dropped from the late essence, immortal realm, to the freezing point. After being defeated by Ning Yu just now, He Jiang consumed a lot of resources to recover to his peak state. But now, he was defeated by the bald martial artist again. After being defeated twice in a day, the anger in He Jiang's heart completely dissipated, and he became abnormally dispirited. Crack. However, the bald martial artist did not care whether He Jiang was dispirited or not. He chased after He Jiang and punched He Jiang's head with a violent gust of wind. In an instant, He Jiang's head exploded and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Hiss. Seeing He Jiang's miserable state, all the martial artists in the entire Heavenly Star Plaza gasped. Terrifying. Extremely terrifying. If the performance of the thin martial artist was amazing enough, then the performance of the bald martial artist was even more amazing. In a short period of time, the 5 core disciples of the Gods Alliance were completely annihilated. On the Gods Killing Alliance's side, Su Ming was still struggling. In everyone's opinion, the Water Moon Alliance's ending should not be any better. What's going on? The Water Moon Alliance seems to be quite capable. Nonsense. Is this called capable? This is called very capable. Ning Yu is indeed Ning Yu. His strength is strong. In my opinion, among the 3 major alliances, only the Water Moon Alliance can stand tall. It's hard to say. After the bald martial artist and the thin martial artist win, they will definitely challenge the Water Moon Alliance. Swish. Sure enough, after the bald martial artist killed He Jiang, he immediately turned his head and rushed to the Water Moon Alliance's arena. On the Water Moon Alliance's arena, Song Qing and the 4 core disciples stayed at the back, while Ning Yu took the initiative to fight Zhu Minghai. Zhu Minghai's strength was very strong, stronger than anyone could imagine. Even Ning Yu felt great pressure when facing him, let alone Song Qing and the others. Therefore, Ning Yu faced Zhu Minghai alone and let Song Qing and the 4 core disciples retreat to the back. You guys go down. However, seeing the bald martial artist rushing over, Ning Yu made a prompt decision and chose to let Song Qing and the others give up the arena. If they stayed in the arena, they would definitely be killed. If they went down, the bald martial artist and the others would not dare to be angry for the time being. At this time, Ning Yu finally understood. The higher-ups of the Kuan-Su Alliance must have noticed some clues. They must be fishing for a big fish. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have watched as the Gods Alliance and the Gods Killing Alliance lost so many experts. Whether it was He Jiang or Su Ming who was struggling over there, they would definitely become peerless immortals in the future. Abandoning them without hesitation meant that the higher-ups of the Kuan-Su Alliance had their own considerations. However, Ning Yu was a little annoyed. How cruel! Ning Yu could basically conclude that he was also one of the abandoned members. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.